Hey, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning. Looks like WoW stream went offline. It was on. It was online. Now it's off. Maybe they're having.
Let me. I'll just message a friend over at Blizzard, and maybe we can announce it.
Yeah, maybe they can let us just have the.
Just be like, hey, buddy. I see you're having some technical difficulties over there. Our stream's working.
Just hit us with that MP4, and we'll be good to go.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, I know we're the biggest MMO creators in the world, and we're happy to lend a hand, because that's totally something that would happen.
Yep, we're crushing it. Absolutely crushing it.
God, the World of WarCraft chat is going so fast on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
The memes are just flowing.
I'm sure.
I'm not sure I've ever seen chat move that fast. Oh my God.
Oh, really? Let me take a look here.
It is just streaming by.
Oh, yeah, it's stuttering. It's stuttering.
Okay, it's back up.
Okay.
It's back up. They probably noticed something was weird and it was just easier to off and on it.
Yeah. Yeah, we can check out the YouTube one too and see what they're up to. Let me.
That's where I'm watching, just because I was already on YouTube, grabbing the link for our stuff.
Let's see here. We're gonna set up a little live this morning. We shall get the face cams on. Apologies for the madness this morning. I will be perfectly honest. Kristen has a doctor's appointment, and our babysitting fell through, so my son may visit us today. He's gonna be in the other room watching a movie. He is down. He doesn't get to watch a lot of movies. We're a pretty movie-free atmosphere around here for the educational purposes, so the movie should suffice. But the son may enter.
I mean, dude, I'd love to say hi to Flynn. That's perfectly. If you don't, no need to apologize to me.
Yeah, just giving the rundown.
Kyle Sprout yells Baggins Wolf. I like that. We'll just call it Sprout Kyle Sprout.
Let's yeah.
If it makes you feel better, Kyle, I lost an entire morning to trying to fix Premiere. Don't get the latest update, by the way.
Okay. Wow.
Do not install it.
That sounds frankly awful.
Yeah, it is. It is awful. I ended up reverting, and I still had to dump all of my preferences to get the old version to work.
Oh.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened, but the new version of Premiere is unusable. It bad. Oh, la 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 la. Papaya. No.
Let's get a little Garrett in here too. Let's see.
Hi. How you doing, chat? What's up? Someone goes by, just Guy, says cautiously optimistic. That's how I'm feeling.
Why are you unhappy?
Why aren't you?
It's doing a thing. But looks like we got time. We got some time.
Cool. World of WarCraft Storm of Endbringers. I'd love to see that. Yeah, let's do it.
We'll see. I mean, I saw a lot of leaks last night. Some true, maybe some others, maybe not so much, but it's there are a lot of leaks going around, which has led to a rather large conspiracy that Blizzard is purposely in the leak game because it's free hype, free money.
I don't know about that. Doesn't seem their style. Only leak I paid any attention to was the was that like art leak, which I think is legit. Beyond that, I've just been like, hey, I'm just gonna not pay attention until I know shit's official.
Just want to be turned off and on again.
Oh yeah, if the Twitch stream is still down, man, I would just swap over to the YouTube because it's been flawless this whole time.
Uh-oh. Wave of the future.
Wave of the future. It was a terrible call for Hearthstone esports, but apparently it's working out okay for expansion reveals.
Jeez.
What?
Oh, just it's been years. You know, we've done a lot of interviews with Blizzard, and they always have tech issues with their streams.
Yeah. You remember the year at BlizzCon? It was a Heroes tournament, wasn't it? Where like, I guess the soundboard like caught on fire, and the company they hired didn't bring a backup. So there was like 3 hours of downtime during the middle of the Heroes esports.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
they
have
a
literally
proper...
the most egregious example I can think of, and that's just, you never want that to happen.
They have a proper countdown over there.
Oh,
on
yeah.
the YouTube.
Yeah, man. They got the countdown. I'm gonna just throw in the theater mode and not pay as much attention to the chat. Shout out Panda Monastery. This is good stuff. I love that zone.
Yeah, that seems, you know, whatever they're choosing, right? Like, these don't seem random. This would be purposeful invoking of the Pandarias.
I believe if you look, there's little pips on screen. They're going through all the
we're going through
expansions.
time. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, geez, chat's gonna love it when we hit BFA. Not our chat, their chat. You all are fabulous. Yeah. And it's lovely to see you all here this morning. Thank you for the tech issues are complete. I told you about the scheduling thing that happened, and then my computer believed it didn't have a sound card this morning. So,
ain't that fun?
Yeah, so it kind of woke up and was like, hey, you know, I don't have a sound card, so if you can just put one in. Excuse me, Mr. Computer, are you okay? Are you okay? But we made it.
We're all fine here. How are you?
A little frazzled. That would be fun if they straight up skipped Warlords of Draenor.
Nope, there it is. We're on it now. We're looking at it.
We're looking at it. Jeez. What?
Someone in our circle, someone I don't know. I don't know personally. I can't remember who it was because I don't know them. But a lot of my friends replied to them. They were like tweeting, I think yesterday, that Draenor was their favorite, and a lot of people in my circles were like, "What?" And I'm just sitting here like, I mean, it's got to be someone's favorite.
Yeah.
Like, if you're really into orcs, that was probably your shit, man.
I mean, with the passage of time, I do think that the boss reveals were really strong. Like, they basically cribbed that from Borderlands, but I thought it was a really solid way to do it.
Hey Kyle, you know how Draenor is like very much my least favorite thing WoW's ever done? I also really don't like Borderlands. There you go.
I mean, Borderlands has some really cute introductions though, and I think they tried to like do the open world zone. I mean, the leaks this morning that are all over are player housing that has basically slots that you put tables in and stuff, but is otherwise completely isolated and like a garrison, but you can't queue for anything inside of it as their fix. There's the image going around of the Dragon Knockagons or something like that, the dragon people, the playable dragon race. There's a lot of stuff about like, Alex Straza and all the dragons and how Chromie works into that. And then there was like the death of Chromie, something that happened. So that's going to get talked about, something.
Okay.
But
all right.
Have you seen the bingo sheet that's going around?
No, I have not. Do you got a link?
Yeah.
Link me.
Let me see,
bro.
Let me see if I can hit you with the reveal bingo sheet that was making the rounds yesterday. I believe the free middle square was we're going back to our roots.
The free middle square. The free middle square should be Hezekiah speaks in a way that is easy for Taliesin to mimic.
Oh, does Taliesin do a good Ian?
Taliesin's Ian Hezekiah's impression always gets me. It is a free like on a Taliesin Evitel video if Taliesin does his Hezekiah's impression.
Oh man, apparently we have been overwhelmed with bingos since then. Here's the OG bingo.
Where it be?
Getting you it right now. Means your camera's gonna be a little silly for a hot moment.
All right, let's look at this. Comments disabled on YouTube. Has that already happened?
Well, that'll be the posting of the video, right? So that.
Oh.
Dragon Storm out, Sylvanas involved somehow. I don't think they're gonna do Sylvanas. I think you don't touch her for a long time, and not because of the community, just the story they subjected her to seems like she's dismissed for a while.
That's kind of like my one thing I'm hoping for. Like, do you have one thing you're hoping for? Because mine is I hope I don't see Sylvanas.
My angriest take is that I want them to fully steal ideas from Final Fantasy, like all content across the whole game giving current currency. However, the problem with that is the system they designed in the past made it so that you ran all that content at such nauseum. I don't want to see it. So the right move for them to do is to go, hey, we have made all these expansions. We've made war fronts, islands. We've made dungeons across the ages. Time gating's great, or time walking. Just get rid of it. Like, take all the content you've ever made and make it doable. But I don't ever want to see a war front. I don't ever want to end up in an island expedition because I farmed that stuff. So I'm very mixed today. Ooh,
here we go.
Ooh. Oh, it's memories. We're just doing memories.
You gotta intro somehow.
We're doing.
You can't just start and be like, "Here's the shit,
no,
yo."
Just do this stuff. Get right to it. You know. What? There's nothing to remember. We were there.
For some reason, I got German subtitles.
Yeah, my subtitles are also for the Alliance.
For the Alliance.
They probably automatically. I want to do a count. I want to see how many of these. Yeah, look, I think we're actually favoring BC. There's Legion. We're definitely favoring certain expansions in that little cut rundown. There was some clear
They showed some
favoritism.
old stuff. Oh, Holly is
Hi
there.
everyone.
We're
I'm
gonna
John
get a
Haidt,
WoW
General
Classic
Manager
announcement.
for Warcraft, and with me today are my friends Ian Hezekiah, who is the game director for World of Warcraft, and Holly Longdale, who leads up the production team for WoW Classic. I really appreciate you tuning in.
My inner
I
camera
know
geek
we're
is
really
geeking
excited to be able to
out.
give you
That
updates
backlighting
on what's
is
happening
wonderful.
in World of
And
Warcraft.
the slight
First,
drift.
I want to thank our community for all the
Oh, yeah.
feedback you've given us this year, and especially our community council.
This is
You've
very
helped
well
shape
shot.
and
The
influence
community
the updates
council.
that we've done recently and what you're going to see in the upcoming year.
I mean, really, for Shadowlands in particular, the story of the last 9 months or so of this expansion is all about the community.
Oh,
And it's shaped by what
that's
we've
a
been
great way
hearing
to
from
blame the
them,
community.
And us realizing as a team that we just collectively needed to do a better job
I don't know what you're
making sure the
referencing.
community feels heard. And so that led us to the changes we made in 9.1.5, but also really re-examining some of the assumptions and foundations
Okay, so we're
of
opening
World
up
of
with
Warcraft.
we
about
hear you.
things
An
like
apology,
character
yes.
investment,
The we
mains
hear you
versus
apology.
alts, or how catch-up should work, or the appropriate role of friction in our systems. And I think 9.1.5 represented a step in the direction of letting players have more freedom to play World of Warcraft the way they want to play it. And we really built our Eternity's End content update from the ground up around those principles.
What are some of the things that the community said that influenced your decisions for Eternity's End?
I'm in such
Things
pain.
like the method and pacing of acquisition of the Covenant Legendary item, tons of tuning, and I think every step
To a
of the
certain
way,
degree, I feel like they had to do this,
we
but
were
also this
listening
is
to
a
make
very
sure
slow
that
way to
we
search.
were
Right,
carrying
like
forward those
get
lessons
into the
learned
big
in the course of
cutscene and let
9.1.5
us
into Eternity's
ride
End and
some
beyond.
hype.
So WoW Classic came about because of the community.
Yeah, they continue to help guide and support us as Classic evolves.
World of Warcraft has always been.
You know, sometimes I
about
feel like
the world
calm
and the players
content
that
is
inhabit
not long
it.
for
And
live
we are
chats.
in a lot
No,
of
it
ways
doesn't
curators
belong.
and caretakers of
We're
that
listening to
journey
three
and that
people have a
experience.
very
And so
metered
once this
conversation,
classic community
and then you look at the
formed
chat, and
and
it's
grew,
it's
we have to
like
listen to that.
an Iron
It's
Maiden
this
concert.
tide of listening to the community and paying attention to what is.
But you
a
can
good
hear every
experience for our
attendee
players
equally.
now.
But
And where we
show
really
it.
saw
Like,
a sea change in this idea is with our season.
It's
of
time for
Mastery Realm,
action.
Which is a season of Fresh Start Classic. And initially we were talking about it like it was going to be.
Oh, no
like a
character.
fresh start. Try
Take a
this
shot every
experiment
time they
in a
say
season,
community
it'll be
chat.
about a year long.
Oh.
And then when the community found out about it, we started seeing this upswell.
Yeah, the team just took that idea and ran with it and
Yes.
turned, what started out as a small community project into this Soul of Iron system that became a centerpiece of Season of Mastery and a whole new opt-in hardcore mode that we've
Are
seen
they going to address
communities
bots if they're
built
talking
around.
about classic?
Yeah.
Lots of, thrilling victory and painful defeat.
5 hours. I made it 5 hours.
Yeah, and it continues. Like Burning Crusade Classic, we wanted to balance the paladin
are they
seals
gonna do
between
the-
Horde and Alliance, so we made an addition there. We wouldn't have gotten there without the community's input.
They're going to
So,
do the Wrath of Lich King
influence the
announcement.
community. You've got another update and pretty significant controversial.
Originally,
change
when
for
I
this.
saw Holly
Yeah,
sitting at the table, I thought
cross-faction
this is where
play.
this was going. But I
Coming-
wonder if
coming
they're
in
just
925,
wanted
which is on
all
our
hands on
public
deck
test
for the
now
"We hear you"
as a
moment.
big
Ian,
centerpiece.
cross-faction.
Allison
You're
Turner,
breaking
thank
with
you
a
for the super
17-year
chat.
tradition.
Yeah, it's something. It was not a made decision. By
I
any
do
means,
not disagree,
I think this is
Allison.
another one of those areas where really we try to take to heart.
Rather play original
community
Realm Reborn
feedback
again
and
than listen to
requests
this
and ask
pathology.
ourselves as a team whether there's a way to accommodate such an earnestly held desire.
I think this would have been
and still feel like
I think
we're
this would have
being
been a
true
better
to
way
the
to
roots
end.
of the game.
Yeah.
The player's desire to
Like,
you
you
wanna
want to end
friends
calm, you
who
want to
might
bring it
prefer a different
down.
faction.
I do
Or
want this
play
to
with
be
the
the
faction
cutscene.
that
I
they
really,
more
really
closely
want to see a
identify with.
unit cutscene
though
like
their
StarCraft
rigor is
got
elsewhere.
with Heart of the
It's really
Swarm,
important
with
to me. I play a lot
like
of
the
alts, and
Pandaria
I
one
love
in my
absorbing
mind
the
has
stories
grown in
very
love
deep
because
trace,
it's
and
just
having
two
that ability to
dudes
play with all of
fighting,
my
well,
friends
a
across
character, but like
factions.
don't
Fantastic.
lead
At
with
the
a
end
main
of the
character,
day,
lead with
the
a
battle
nobody.
cry is for the Horde. It's not against the
Yeah,
Alliance.
like it's just
not death to
it
the
gets back to
Alliance.
like
It's
the
about
vanilla one, right?
riding
Where it's
one
just here are
faction. I think there's a
adventurers
way to
exploring the
preserve
world.
that and even
Yeah.
strengthen that while giving players the ability to make the same choice we've seen the greatest heroes make.
Which I
time
thought-
and
Craftless
again.
Rogue. What sort
I
of
can't
feedback
wait
did the
to do
community
this.
give?
I'm seeing
Well,
a
they
lot of
called
my
us
friends that I
redacted.
never knew had a max level character in the other faction suddenly come out of the woodwork.
Well, and they're doing
then,
like a lot
you
of
know,
like
with these-
proof
with
I'm
these
playing. They
cross-faction
keep
groups,
trying
many
to
of them are going
insert,
to be
particularly
diving
the middle guy. I don't know their
into
names
something
very
new
well,
that
but
we're
the
doing
middle
to
guy
cap
keeps
off
trying to be like, I'm
Shadowlands
playing.
is Season 4. Kind of a remix, a bit of a greatest hits, revisiting all of our raid zones across the expansion, bringing in some familiar older favorites into the Mythic Plus rotation. And we recognize this is kind of a closing chapter, a little bit of a send-off to Shadowlands. As everyone gets ready for what happens next, and what will come next.
Previously
we want
on
to
World of
give,
Warcraft.
a fun new challenge
Jeez.
for everyone to sink their teeth into.
Really cool stuff for modern WoW players. I'm super excited about the gear upgrades that you're going to give me and the chance to go back and play some of those awesome raids.
The
There's
chance
a lot to
you could just
explore. Very exciting.
let it out of
For
this
our
isn't the
next
Disney Vault.
Adventure in World of Warcraft.
Just let
We're gonna go back to
let it
Azeroth.
roll.
We're going to a space with high fantasy. I mean, our fans of Azeroth for a long time.
getting to it.
This has been
Okay.
kind of the foundation
Okay.
of much of the lore of WoW.
Oh, we're just going right
So
now. Okay, all right.
without further ado, let's watch the cinematic.
All right, cinematic time.
All right. Thank you, Super Chat.
Thanks, Wojo.
I'm on units. Oh no.
The world has
Full
been
screen this for a
summoned.
second.
It cries out in pain. We must go to its aid.
Oh, that's cool.
We entrust our ancestral
That's something I haven't
home
seen
to
before.
you.
Fully rendered, like stone construct dudes.
Yeah, it's got some nice jank to it. Some rocky bits. Some titans. Echoey personage, so I assume Alex Straza talking.
Let the land slumber, hidden, even from
That's a
our
shot.
own eyes. You will feel our return in the waking of the land.
I can already see the FF
Then
comparisons happening there with those
you must
crystals.
light the beacon of Tearhold.
Fantasy has crystals, Kyle.
Lest the
That's true.
path
All
home be
fantasy has
lost to
crystals.
us. forever.
Marvel has crystals.
I don't think I'm getting my unit start that I wanted.
I don't think you are either. But you're also not getting main character start.
That's true. That's true.
Unless this is a playable race, then you're getting your character start.
Yeah, I mean, I would have guessed Saurfang was a player insert, but he became a main character.
Damn seagulls.
Right? High-level jackasses. Some level 90 crabs running around this zone.
Chewing on statues. Oh, that's a cool door.
Nah, that's a nice door. That nice lava. Yeah. Lord of the Rings. I like it.
This is, I feel like they're showing me stuff I haven't seen before, which
That's fair.
excites me. Dude, if I was a dwarf player right now, I'd be losing my mind.
Very God of War.
Yeah.
Which I do like
Getting
God
a
of War.
Magic Theros vibe.
Hmm. Gotta go channel the object.
There is some fantastic sound design in this. Oh, hand cracking, what a good little touch. Some animator back there is like, yeah, it landed.
They're adding Assassin's Creed mechanics to WoW.
That or the Breath of the Wild grip meter.
Yes, the classic grip. Everyone loves it, I hear.
Oh yes, it's the
Right next
second
to
most
weapon
complained about
durability.
thing in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, yeah. He's doing the Thor thing,
Oh, he is doing the Thor thing.
which is fine. The Thor thing's great. Like,
Now that's Final Fantasy. Yeeting yourself off something backwards.
he didn't do it on purpose, and his arms aren't straight. You got to T-pose.
Duncan, thank you for the super chat. Community of Warcraft, or COW for short. Coeurl, thank you for the super chat. It's fun to compare them to Yoshi P. In every Yoshi P apology, he leads by saying that he messed up and taking ownership while they're blaming the players. Jeez. You guys are savage. It's good-looking dragons.
Yeah, they are good-looking dragons.
Oh, you know what I'm getting the vibe of, and I'm stoked about it, is How to Train Your
But
Dragon.
her fate
Yeah,
is yet
yeah.
uncertain.
That is, for me, that is not a bad thing to compare anything to. I freaking love those movies.
I mean, if they do Galakrond, it'll go cool How to Train Your Dragon.
Together, we shall
Dude, this
be
looks
out of
like
our
fun and
protectors once
fantastical.
again.
I mean, but it's dragon.
Here,
What about this
the
gameplay?
new
What about this?
age of
It
dragons
informs me what
shall
kind of world I will
begin.
participate in.
That's a world of dragons, Kyle.
It's pretty, but like the
What did like, Pandaria showed you like one zone, and that showed you one zone.
But
so
I
don't
was
know why
gonna
you like
explore
Pandaria,
the
but-
mists, like
Dragons!
Dragons.
This is so cool.
No one saw it coming.
No one saw it coming. Carefully kept secret. But seriously, I mean, what did we just
All I
see
know is I'm
there?
sitting here watching a
The
pre-rendered
awakening
cinematic, and you
of
just
the
said, "Where's the
Dragon
gameplay?" And I'm just
The
like, "What
return-
do you mean, you crazy
Wait,
person?"
when you walk on,
The
when
dawn of a new
they
age.
explored the
We've seen
through the
Rathian
mists, literally the
searching
mists of
for
Pandaria,
his
I
father's
felt
legacy,
like
searching
that
for
was
the
a place
Dragon
I
Isles.
was
The
gonna
reason
go.
why he hasn't
Here,
been able
I've
to find
seen
them
this before. That it's
until now.
pretty. It's
The
pretty. Don't
beacon
get me
going
wrong,
off.
but
Is
like
that summoning the dragons?
the
It is
dragons
removing
are
the
cool, but I
concealment
already
that had hidden
know
the
them.
Dragon
So
Isles
like,
from the
what
world, but
exactly
also
am I going to
beckoning dragons
explore? Like,
back
how do I
urgently
feel
in the
going
time of
into
I
this?
assume pretty good variety of locales within the Dragon Isles. It's
Yes, the Dragon Isles, as kind of standard for WoW expansion, consist
So
of
here we go, we're
5
getting to see
zones,
some, you know,
Oh, that
four
looks
standard
pretty.
leveling zones, and a new starter zone that we'll get to in a second.
Can you talk a little bit about how the team found ways to thread the dragon aspects throughout the environments?
The Dragon Isles are a place
So
that
that's
is
a tough question.
lush and primal, bursting
What
with
is?
elemental energy. As Azeroth herself reawakens, those primal forces are expressed throughout the environment, whether it's magma activity, volcanic activity, whether it's the icy wastes of
That
the
is
Azure
nice.
Span.
That's a nice
and
icy
each one of
waste.
those has a connection to a
And I do like
Dragonflight
my
I think we're
fuel.
slightly
before.
off sync, so
And it's
I'm
gonna be an
never
amazing
exactly
place
sure
for
what you're
players
reacting
to
to.
arrive
Okay,
at and
okay,
explore.
fair.
All right, you know I'm going to ask.
Yes, okay, so
Can I be a dragon?
let's start getting into some
The zones
features
look
here and what
good.
Dragonflight means for you.
That
as well as
forest,
the
too, is
place.
very Grizzly Hills
so
inspired.
First off,
Well,
yes,
yeah,
we have
yeah.
an all-new playable race, the Drakthir race.
Yeah.
This is a draconic race, but dragons in Warcraft have the ability to take
Oh, so
on
yeah,
a
we're getting right
humanoid
into it.
form.
A playable dragon
What
race.
classes
Yeah.
can they be?
They have unique abilities as literally a dragon. That doesn't quite fit any of our existing classes. And so what we're doing is this is not just a new race.
New race
but it's
and new
also a new
class.
class.
Ah, so the
adding a
race
new
is
to
the
World of
class?
Warcraft, and not just an allied race, is something that we don't do lightly. But telling this expansion, this
interesting
story
idea.
so focused around dragons, felt like the perfect time for it. So if you
Evoker.
are a Drakthir, you will be the Evoker class. Drakthir can only be Evokers, Evokers can only be Drakthir. And the reason why only a Drakthir could be an Evoker is that an Evoker is really combining the ability to
I didn't have
call
that on my
upon the
bingo
magic
card.
of the different aspects with the unique physical gifts that a Drakthir has.
Dude,
The
these
ability to
flying
actually
abilities are cool
take
looking.
flight and do an Onyxia-style strafing
Okay,
deep
that's a
breath
nice-
over the
that's a nice
Wing
battlefield,
buffet.
land on the other side, knock everyone back with a wing buffet, and then unleash your magical abilities.
Yes, please.
You know, they have this this
Evoker
dragon
has two
person with a lizard
specializations. They're a
tail
hybrid
playable race,
of either ranged
and they
DPS
didn't
or
put it in
healing.
the
And
cinematic,
they
which
wear
is a
mail
surefire
armor.
way to win
We
Kyle
figured,
over.
with
So
the
missed
new hero
opportunity.
classes class and battle over the
I
years,
would have
we
felt
have
involved,
enough
you know,
melee, we
like-
don't need
You
more
put a
of those.
lizardman in your WoW
And
trailer,
also,
Yeah.
Kyle
more
starts playing your game
leather
again.
wears.
I would be more interested if I had
Exactly. This is
explored
definitely a
these,
hero
you know,
class.
even if they were
And
just
so
like
that
waking
means
up
that,
and
you know, like
exiting the
Death
cave
Knights
and being
before
like,
them, or
whoa,
Demon
dragons,
Hunters,
and
they'll
the
be
same
starting
exact thing
level
happened.
58,
It was just
and they're going to have a new starter
a
zone.
player
So they're gonna have a
character
slightly
rather
different
than a
journey
Titan.
into the Dragon Isles as opposed to the rest of us that are sailing there from other parts of Azeroth.
Can you talk a little bit about the customizations? Like what is going to be able to identify my Drakthir character?
Oh, yo, the
Basically
humanoid
anything
versions look
and
cool
everything.
too.
You know, skin color, hair color, jewelry, tattoos, other adornments. You can make this character the expression.
So are they
of your
doing the
identity
Worgen thing?
in Azeroth.
New zone.
Seems like it.
New class.
Well, 'cause
new
the dragons
race.
in Warcraft can
Tell
take
us
human
about some
forms,
of the-
which-
the
Oh,
system
yeah, I guess
updates.
that's true.
Features.
Of course, the new expansion brings with it.
I like that they
new
didn't just give
systems,
them
new
the human
features.
model like
I
Worgen
think
though.
in
Like
recent
they're
expansions,
still
one
quite
of the
different.
things we've tended to do is really have these deep features that were closely tied to a specific expansion that would then get left behind as we moved on. And
Okay.
we've heard loud and clear from players that, you know, it's kind of a bummer to start off every new expansion by leaving a large part of your character behind, by leaving a large part of your progression behind. So this
okay.
time around,
I like
what
the
we're
board.
doing is really pouring all of our energy into permanent revamps, overhauls, and improvements to World of Warcraft's core systems. Things like our progression systems, in this case, our talent system is something that we want to completely revamp. We want to take a
You're
look
looking
at
at
our
it, but what are you
UI.
doing?
We want
Yeah.
to take a look at professions.
That's what I want.
So with the talent revamp,
not a
and the
criticism, it's just me- I'm
arrival of
legitimately
Classic,
interested.
Did you learn anything about how our talents work?
I think seeing a new generation of players play with those talents and work through those talent trees really underscored some of the things that, frankly, we lost when we shifted to the Mists of Pandaria style talents and beyond. A big piece of that was some of just the granularity, the feeling of getting a level and spending a point to customize your character to make yourself a bit better in some specific way.
Right, but they have to reassure
But
me that
also,
they're
you know,
modernizing
that
it.
sense of hybridity that you could have.
Oh,
That's
hey.
something
Yeah.
that we've largely
They showed us
lost.
something.
And so the new talent system avoids directly pitting player power through
I like the look of
choices
that.
directly against those sort of
room
utility
for error,
hybrid
which is
choices,
always
'cause we know that there's always a right
the bummer
outcome
part
there.
about this
And
older
we also
system
understand
in the age of
that
the
Yeah,
internet.
there's a
but
lot of strength
it's
in
not
the
going to cost as
flexibility of
much
the
to
modern
respect
talent
as it used
system
to.
let
They streamlined
players
it a lot.
customize their talents for a
Arturo,
particular
thank you for the
encounter
super
or
chat.
for dungeons
Not sure I'll be
versus
dragging my
PvP,
arch
and we
back
don't
to
wanna
WoW,
lose any
though.
of that.
So
Yeah, I
John,
mean, it's still got a
UI?
lot to prove for
Oh
sure.
my God. Yes, I got this 30-inch monitor trying to keep track of where I am on the map, all my buffs, and over here, what's going on in chat.
Ian hates
It
this.
has literally made my eyes go
What's
like
that?
this.
Ian hates this.
You're not alone in that. We've
That
made a
joke
lot of
did not
incremental
land well
changes
for
and
Ian.
additions over the years, but really this is a revamp. This is an overhaul.
I'm not
And
really
so
used to
we're
seeing Ian
excited to
smile really
modernize the
ever.
look and feel
Yeah.
while staying true to the origins of World of Warcraft. Now, at the same time, we're not looking to take away the sort of power user customization there. Add-ons are still there if you want them, but we want a much better default out-of-the-box experience for all players,
That's
new and old alike.
A good
Can
thing
I
to say.
reduce
Have they said
elements
that
from new
before? Talked about
elements
add-ons?
If I want to explore the world and
No, but
see
did
the
you see that
beauty of
UI example? That
Azeroth.
was
When it
gorgeous.
comes to specific elements, as much as possible, we want to let players choose what to show and what to hide so that they can control it themselves.
You mentioned professions. I have a critical question about this.
Go on.
Can I wear a chef's hat?
Yeah, I knew it.
Our approach to professions in Dragonflight is really all about delivering on fantasy and identity as a crafter.
Oh, that's kinda cool.
And so if you want to be a serious blacksmith, if you want to be a great leather worker, we want to deliver the ability to invest time and energy into that, become a master crafter, be able to make items that are in demand, interact with the community. One of the big pieces that we want to do to support that is a new work order system to have a bit more convenience than just spamming trade chat all day. But if you are someone, you're not yourself a blacksmith, but you have a bunch of mats and you want them
So having
forged
like
into
more
a great
visual
sword,
customization based on your
you can put
profession,
that work
I think
order
starts
up,
to get into
list
kind
your
of some of the
mats,
stuff I
offer
was looking
commission,
for. Like after playing
and
Final
a skilled
Fantasy and just how much
blacksmith can
damn
come
visual
along and make you
customization
the
I
weapon
have.
of your dreams.
Right.
I think we left out
Adding
one
more
thing,
of that based on how
Be a
I've chosen
drag
to
tier,
build
no
my
dragon
character,
isles.
I think is
Can
a
I
good
have a
thing.
dragon?
What's the fantasy of dragons if not soaring
Yo, do they
over
just do a
the
barrel roll?
lands?
'Cause I'm here
And
for
so
that.
we're really excited to introduce a feature that we're
Well,
calling
that was a
dragon
flight
riding.
point right
It's
there. That's
dynamic.
just gonna auto
with,
barrel roll.
Everything from momentum to
No, it
dive
isn't looking at it. They're,
bombs,
like, diving
the
and
ability
shit.
to just sort of build that speed up
Oh,
and feel
okay,
the world
that's
rushing
cute.
past you in a way that should be much more exciting than traditional flight that we've made available in the past, but that's also available for players through a customizable dragon mount right from the start.
So this is a skill you learn over time, right, to become an awesome dragon rider?
Yes, you'll be able to sort of upgrade aspects
Flying
of
at
your
the
flight,
start.
but you will have this new form of flight from the start.
Who
And the dragon
threatened
companion that
Ian
you
with
have
flying at the
is,
start?
of course, very thoroughly customizable, which is a new thing for us for mounts. This is
I mean,
not
that's-
just
that's
a
a
generic
great,
dragon that
you know,
everyone has,
fantasy to play into,
but a
as you
drake that
said,
is
the
yours.
how to
You know,
train
what
your
do you want its
dragon.
scales to look like, horns, the shape of its head, other attachments, armor pieces, and more. Take your pick.
This is so cool.
So yeah, so the Dragonflight expansion is going
What did
to
he say
see
after that?
players
What did they cut?
leveling to 70, going to the all-new continent of the Dragon Isles, which consists of 5 zones, 4 standard leveling zones, and a new starter zone for our Drakthir class, as well as a range of
Oh
systems
man,
revamps,
just
such
freaking
as
let
a
me
new talent
fly has been
system,
something I've been
an
yelling for
overhaul and
years,
update
so
to our
I'm
UI,
kind of
and an
smitten
entirely
at the
fresh
moment.
look at
That's all
professions
right, you know,
with
that's
more
good,
depth
that's good.
than ever before. Also, getting around the Dragon Isles is going to come in the form of dragon riding, which lets
The
you
flying
customize
looks
and upgrade
really
your
good.
own mount.
Like
so
it has
that
a
you can
movement
fly
to it that
a
it
sense from
hasn't in the
start.
past.
They're
Of
cutting
course,
too
as with
fast
any
for
new
me to think
expansion,
it
we
to have
have a new
anything
set of
of it.
dungeons, a raid, and much more to come.
We also have an alpha that will be starting
Okay,
up
Grandpa.
in the future.
Try and keep
Check
up.
out our website for more information, and keep an eye out for those opt-in signups if you want to.
I get it.
help
I
us
don't really
test
want to,
out
you know,
Dragonflight
stare at a
and give us
table
even
as
more
much as I want to
feedback
stare at the
make it
gameplay.
We
But
do have a deep dive that follows this, so please stay around.
Oh.
Classic players, we haven't
Oh,
forgotten
sweet.
about you. You could probably guess where
Oh,
we're
hey,
going to
you
go
see
next.
that Frostmourne
One of the
framed in the
all-time
back
favorite
there?
expansions for World of Warcraft. Let's watch the cinematic.
What are we gonna? Are we just gonna watch Wrath of the Lich King again?
this is different.
Okay.
Oh, they're doing a little bit of Wrathgate in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we getting like a super close up, like a Frostmourne?
Oh, yeah, no,
Oh,
this is-
shattered and
yeah.
it's reforming. Okay, this is whoever thought of this. Well done. Oh yes. Okay, I'm here for this. Hi.
My son, the day you were born, the very forests of Lordaeron whispered the name.
Oh man, Dad's got such a great voice.
Yep. That's all I needed. You can cut there. Seeing Frostmourne come together from Broken Shards was a really clever thought of how to announce this.
When my days have come to an
Yep.
end,
Where's my Arthas body pillow pre-order bundle?
shall be king.
What year is it? What year is it? Hey!
Oh wow, they're doing it this year to pad out the season.
All right, I'm gonna save my super chat so I can buy you a boost.
Just incredible, isn't it? Every time I see the cinematic, I
Gross.
get chills. No pun intended, I do. I get chills. As you saw, Wrath of the Lich King Classic is coming this year. It brings back so many memories. When you see that cinematic, what do you remember from Wrath of the Lich King?
Anytime you want to talk about undead frozen dragons, how can you not go back to Sindragosa as the source? That was the first expansion I played with my youngest
that's
son.
a weak
I
tie-in.
can remember.
You could
on
pick
that
any
platform,
expansion, say,
black
we're doing it
goo
'cause the
and,
dragons.
chunks of ice falling off and having to repeat that battle with the Lich King. But when we finally downed him, it was such an incredible moment. He jumped up out of his room and I jumped up out of my office. We're like, yeah, did it. So it's a very lasting tale for me.
So as you know, with this expansion, you will, in pre-patch, be able to play the Death Knight. They will start at level 55. You don't have to have a high-level character to make a Death Knight, so everyone will be able to make one.
We're excited to give players some time before Wrath officially launches to get geared up and ready to jump into Northrend with everybody else.
And there are so many zones and areas to explore in Northrend, and I want us to talk about some of our favorites. So for me, Grizzly Hills has a very special place
All
in
right,
my
I
heart.
thought-
The music was some of the best I've experienced in World of
Why?
Warcraft.
I still make my way
Thoughts?
all the way up to Storm Peaks to try and find the time lost.
Odd filler, right? Like it's literally
gotta
called
say
classic. Like
Dragonflight. The
let's
wide open
all
nature
talk
of
about our
design,
memories of the thing we all remember, and you'll play it because you remember it. Like you won't. What's the purpose?
You're literally describing WoW Classic. Kyle.
Yeah.
You're literally describing the appeal of WoW Classic.
Why? So why are they doing it? Like just go on to whatever your next thing is. Like don't chill here. This is literally the classic reason to classic.
Fighter is not a good fit for our community.
That was kind of the first step that may have eroded some of that social fabric. Now, as people have gone through the experience of going back to vanilla, rebuilding those groups, relying on each other, not wanting necessarily a random participant just to show up and then leave.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
But today, you can do that in Shadowlands. You'll be able to do that in Dragonflight. It's a self-selected
Ian
group
coming
of
in like,
people who
whoa, whoa,
specifically
whoa.
want that
We've
different
changed that,
experience.
okay? We
Let's
hear
make sure
you.
that's what we continue to give.
Shut up.
That leads right into arena teams in Burning Crusade Classic. So we listen to the community and we remove that because individual rating is preferable and a better experience for them than arena teams. Also, with Wrath of the Lich King, Barbershop, which allows you to customize your character. We're going to be adding a few more options that were not existing when Wrath launched, but also there's another side of this where we are not going to charge a real money fee. It was a paid character customization fee, right?
Yeah.
It seems the right thing to do that just be available in game for gold.
Okay, so
and we
they're
add
talking
more
about how they're
options to
changing
it,
things
right?
up a little bit.
Sort of like spell batching in a sense. There's a lot
Okay.
of technical advancements, and it's not about the philosophy of what makes classic classic and what brings people together. It's just what's the better experience, and let's not artificially restrict something that we can provide a better version of just for the sake of nostalgia. And we're happy to say this is one of those cases.
So Wrath, the level cap's being
Classic
increased
will
to
be
level
up
80,
higher
so we'll
than,
be introducing a level 70 boost so
than
that players
Dragonflight.
who want to get in with their friends or just explore Northrend right away will be able to do that.
I like to imagine
You
that
can
Ian
apply it to a Death
repeatedly
Knight,
through
but
this
you
meeting
won't
had
be
to stand
able
up and
use
just
it
be like,
otherwise. And of course, we have Inscription,
Oh.
a whole new profession, so we're really
Okay.
excited about
Okay.
that. Yeah, and as we continue this road to Wrath, we're going to be looking to getting a lot more feedback on beta, and we'll make changes as we need to.
Such an exciting time to be playing World of WarCraft. We have the return of the Wrath of the Lich King for classic fans and taking us somewhere new with Dragonflight. We're so excited to be able to bring these adventures to you. Don't forget, there's a deep dive on Dragonflight where you're going to get a lot more information.
Is
Thank
that
you
next?
so much
I don't know.
for
Or-
spending this
Yeah,
time with us.
I don't know.
Or is
We'll
that
see
it?
you in Azeroth.
And we'll see you in
sweet,
Northrend.
wonderful. Thank
the
you.
Dragon Isles.
Text on screen.
Okay, no, just like roll big footage, because that, like, that's the thing that's
Hi
gonna
there.
get me into
Welcome
it. Is
to
just
the
like
Dragonflight Deep Dive. I'm Steve
How to
Denise.
Train Your Dragon.
And I'm Taryn Gregory.
The game.
Starting it off here, we're going to talk about the setting and the story of Dragonflight.
We've got this great expansion, exciting pre-render trailer that everyone just watched. So let's talk about
Everybody likes
the
Gregory. Get
setting
Gregory on
for
camera.
Dragonflight, the Dragon Isles.
Yeah, we do like
Dragon
Gregory.
Isles
It's true.
have been
We do like Gregory.
known
He's a
for
good-
long time in
Karen
Warcraft
rules, man.
history
He's
as
an
a
approachable
mysterious
dude.
place where
Thank you for the super
dragons
chat. I
came
am
from
in physical
long ago.
pain
We never knew much
watching
more
him
than
say
we're
this
going
is
to
such a
this
great
place
time to
That
play.
is kind of the broodlands of all the Dragonflights, the place where they nested, where they built their civilization.
Yeah, I
The
still need to
Dragon
be
Isles
proven.
was the center of the dragon's kingdom when the world was young and the mortal races were just starting
So
to
this is
form
his whole
kingdoms of
baby.
their
Like
own.
this is
But when the Legion
Dan's
invaded
off the chain now.
for that War of the Ancients, that sundering
That's
that
the
resulted
thought.
from
Yeah.
the explosion of the Well of Eternity.
Also, Kyle, I would like to point out,
Literal
big
sundering
positive.
of the
I haven't seen
continents
Sylvanas
of
yet.
Azeroth.
That's
And
true.
Because
Good
of
point.
They didn't even
the
show
world,
Sylvanas during the Wrath of the
magic
Lich King
has
Classic
drained
announcement.
away
I haven't
and the
seen
land
Coeurl,
went
I
dormant.
haven't
So they had to
seen-
leave
well,
the Dragon Isles
you know,
behind.
there's
And as we
some
saw
dead
in the
characters, but, you know,
pre-render,
yeah,
they
okay,
left
you got me
behind
there, you know?
some Titan Watchers to look over the land. And when someday
Ryan,
they
thanks for
hope
the super
that
chat.
elemental
Love the commentary,
energy
guys.
would
Keep it up.
resurge
Enjoy a
once
beverage of your
again
choice later.
and
It'll be
draw the
interesting to see how
Dragon's
WoW
Home to
Dragon Song
establish
War.
the
I mean,
kingdom.
That's when the
Dragonflight
message goes
goes.
out to the flights, and they feel it in their bones.
Now
Y'all
it's
are
the
like
time
the
for
really
sky to light
fun,
up with the colors of the
nice,
aspects
like
once again,
kind-spirited
and
version of
for
trolls.
Alex
I love
to
it.
Yeah,
rise and
no,
the
I'm really
others to come
enjoying y'all.
home. But the land has changed a lot in all these thousands of years they've been away, and some very old threats have awakened as well.
We're looking into the culture of dragons as they exist in Warcraft.
Dragons, as we know them today, were very different.
I fully
in the
expect
early
Rathian to
past,
come
the
back
early history
mind
of
controlled by
Azeroth. They
N'Zoth.
were much more primitive.
But you
much more
can't have
savage.
you can't have a
What we
dragon
now
expansion and
know
not bring
as
Rathian back,
proto-dragons.
But he's going to
And
be
then
mind
some of the
controlled by
dragons
N'Zoth,
were empowered
100%.
to become the aspects. The green flight, red
know
flight,
about
blue
that.
flight, bronze flight, black flight, each with unique powers, each with the ability
Unique,
to protect
like,
the world in different
aspect
ways.
power,
These pillars
perhaps?
of draconic power appointed to defend Azeroth from
They
threats.
can't. They
within
literally
and
cannot
without.
have another
Dragons
system that
used
is
that
abbreviated
power
to
both
AP. I'm
for
sorry.
good
They're-
in the case
It's
of
right
good
there.
riots in the street.
but also for nefarious reasons in the case of the Black Dragonflight led by Neltharion, who would become Deathwing.
And what we will find in Dragonflight is that some of these ancient divisions run deep. And so it begs the question, where do we go from here? If this is an opportunity to reclaim their legacy, to be the protectors, as the cinematic mentioned, that they once were.
To do that, they're going to need the help of our heroes, our players, to come to the Dragon Isles with them and face some of these reawakening challenges, because it's not just that this land is peacefully
threat is
waiting for the
Titans.
dragons to return.
Titans
and
are kind of the
reclaim it.
main bad guy.
There's those old enemies that have awakened
And
as well.
old gods that might be
One of
trapped
those
by
being
Titans and
a race
cells
of
and
kind of
stuff.
They're also
elemental
talking about like
half-giants, the Jarden.
elemental
The
threats.
Dragon Isles isn't
reawakening.
just populated by dragons or just
I'd be
by the
surprised they did
Jarden. There's
Ragnaros
also
again, but-
many other occupants here in the Dragon Isles. They've been here either just
Show me
recently or for
unique
a while,
skeletons.
Oh,
including
shit,
a
yeah,
fan
Tuskar coming
favorite
back.
that
It's one of my
is
favorite
Tuskar.
beast
That's
races.
gonna be
They're-
awesome.
they're,
We've
you know,
got
they're
other
kinda fun.
cultures there as well in the Dragon Isles. We're going to find out about a civilization
dragon
of
looks cool.
centaurs that predates the ones that arose on Kalimdor much later.
Well, that's a proto
And
Drake
some of our
skeleton.
favorite characters that we've seen
Yeah,
over
it's
the last
fine.
few
It's
campaigns,
enough
such
of
as
a new
and whether
he's
ready
spin on
to
it
step
for
up
me.
into a leadership
Rathian,
role,
yeah.
or if there are other alternatives out there that would be better suited to the job of being the aspect of the Black Dragonflight.
I think one thing the players are going to be really excited about this expansion is
The new race
new
looks
playable
really
race,
unique.
The Drakthir.
That's right.
And this is something that
curious to see how they're
Neltharion,
gonna do the
before he was Deathwing,
transformations.
before he went full crazy world dragon, that he
Spin
put
and
into
magic
motion.
Neltharion
dust, I bet.
saw those primalists that were kind of breaking away from the aspects and what they wanted. And so, in those first experiments, he took the essence of dragons, their strength, their nobility, their wisdom, and he combined it with that scrappiness, that adaptability
for the
that the
super
mortal
chat.
races had. And he wanted to use that to
I
create
don't think I can accept dragons that
the
don't have
ideal
PTSD.
soldier.
But are these dragons
Drakthir.
disturbed enough to fuel my
Exploration is really
need
one
for
of the key
lore?
themes of this expansion. We're going to be going to this.
When you say
ancient
they're
place
divided-
that the dragons left behind long ago. So we've made these huge zones with all kinds of places to delve into and find little treasures and little secrets tucked
I'm
away.
just
It's going to
bored
be a
of
lot
that.
of fun for
I don't wanna
players
see
to be
that.
exploring these
I've seen you.
landscapes.
And there's
I'm okay with
so much
spires. I like the snow
architectural
zone.
history and how clearly
The,
aspirational
yeah, the swampy
kingdom of
zone
the
with the
dragons
little,
and
Yeah.
how
not the Murlocs. I
it
forget
lost
that
so
variant.
much.
Yeah,
And
that looked
it
just
seems
like
they're
very
trying to
Draenor to me. I'm
return
like,
to
I've
that
seen that
and try
before,
to
but
find
everything
your
else looks
legacy.
pretty fresh to
If you
me.
try to figure out who you were before everything
The
went
see-through cape's
awry.
nice.
But there's questions, thematic questions of what does it mean to be true to your legacy? Are we going to repeat the mistakes of the past?
The dragons have
Are we
had
gonna
to learn
repeat
those
the
lessons,
mistakes of
just
the
like
past?
the mortal kingdoms have had to. And I think that's one of the reasons why the dragons see this now as the time that they have to return and they have to step
Oh,
up
man.
once
Game
again
looks so
as
much better now.
protectors of Azeroth. We're helping the dragons because the dragons have
Yeah,
helped us
don't
in the
zoom
past
in.
too. So by using the Explorers League and the Reliquary together, that allows us to delve into some of that history.
And when I look, upon the Dragon Isles and all of its visual splendor, I get so excited
Very,
Yo,
very
New
strange.
Caligos looking
truly
hot.
Azerothian adventure alongside Caligos,
Oh,
along
yeah,
with
he does.
Rathian Ebonhorn, with Ysera's daughter Marithra.
We got- Ysera's
as
got
each
daughter?
one of them
What?
is trying to find their own flights.
I mean,
I
Rathion's
am
got great
taken
swagger.
by the
do like him.
exploration and the potential
Rathian would
for
be a very
adventure
strong
and just
character to
new horizons
hang
within
this expansion
world.
on.
There's
Yeah.
going to be old stories.
And
from
I
that
think there's a lot
time
of room for
past,
Alexstrasza.
that
Alexstrasza
history
hasn't
that
been
only the dragons
super
knew
in the
for longest
limelight
time. We're going to be
recently.
able to explore that.
It really feels like just a breath of fresh air.
So now we're going to turn things over to some of our colleagues who will take you on that deep dive into the locations and the features of Dragonflight.
Just skip the swamp. Zoom right past it.
Coeurl, thank you for the
Hello,
super
Stephanie.
chat, but we don't want to die.
I'm Jackie.
Says take a shot every time they say
And we're
dragon.
part of the teams that are building the first 2 zones that you'll encounter in the Dragon
That
Isles.
tree line looks really good in that
Waking
one
Shore
shot they
and
showed
the
a couple
Inaran
times
Plains.
now.
Yeah, this is the nice trees.
The very first
Good-looking
zone
vegetation.
in Dragonflight you're going to come to is
I
the
like
Waking
this
That
table.
looks cool.
It's wild, untamed land. It's waking up around you too, and the elements are just going crazy.
You know, that's fine. I like the skulls and stuff. I just love this
You'll see
table.
like a lava mountain
These
flowing
designers
in
are
through the
stoked
beach.
to be here.
Giant proto
We should've
dragons
st-
swooping
look at him.
down,
Look, he's
gobbling up
loving
members of
this.
your expedition.
He loves
We have
being
such
here.
a bright opportunity.
This is what they should have led
show
with
They
those
should have
this.
led
The cinematic
yeah.
straight into
because
this.
of the crazy magic that's flying around.
The one of the things I love is just
Damn,
how you
these
get
zones
to
look
the
good.
Dragon Isles, right? So you're going to get on your boat in Stormwind or
These zones got me
Arkham,
hyped, man.
and
I'm
the first
gonna
thing
be
you do
honest.
is
I
sail
really like the look of
between,
this.
Like, the dragon
I've seen
ruin
it before.
architectures.
Also,
The boats
these
come
these
right
designers are
alongside
getting
each
me
other.
hyped.
You
This
can
is so
jump
much more
from one
energy.
boat
Yeah,
together
no,
and just
definitely.
start causing havoc on the other faction's boat.
For those who love PvP, this is a great opportunity for Warhammer.
It's a little bit like an
It's
Nintendo
free-for-all
Switch
out
commercial,
there. It's
but
gonna be great.
it's
But
better
it's
than
okay. There's
how it
an
opened.
innkeeper
But
on
we
the
haven't
beach.
seen a
So then if
20-year-old dad
you're
and
in
mom
that
yet,
situation
though.
and you don't want to be in war mode anymore, you can just hop
Fair.
out right
Nintendo
there.
Or
Switch
what, I think
families
it was
are
just
so
Military
young, they make
and
me feel
the Explorers
ancient.
League
Go
are
for it.
working together.
The Horden Alliance
Or just
are
as
setting
reality
expeditions
situations,
together.
WoW
It's
has to
not
show all the
military,
refugees
it's not the
that
soldiers.
left
This is the
what they're
scientists,
offering
the
is better than what they
exploring
found,
this new
and they
land. So it's a
haven't.
lot more optimistic
One of my
Willen
favorite things
says, I
about
love
the
the idea of
Waking
Alex
Shores
Strasza coming
is
back
the
and yelling at
Dragonflight,
us.
led
How
by
is there a
Queen
giant wound in the
Alexstrasza,
planet? What the
Lightbringer.
F, people?
They have the mandate of
And Ryan N says, I
nurturing
really
and
do love the
protecting all
colors they
life,
have in WoW
which
and the
means
wide shots. Some of the scenes are very beautiful looking. I agree with Ryan.
Trolls,
Well, yeah, I
everybody.
think there's still
So
a
they
lot
take
to
that
be
duty seriously.
explained,
When
which I think
the
they're doing
Horden
right
Alliance
now.
Come to the Waking Shores. They want to be there
To a certain
help
degree. I know,
guide
Kyle,
the
for you,
people
I
through
think
the new land and
sprucing
welcome
up the
them.
old stuff
But
is a
they're not
big
the
hanging
only
point
one
for
in the
you.
Waking Shores.
Which
We
they
have
have
the
not
ancestral home of
explained.
the Black
But this is an
Dragonflight
expansion
too,
reveal,
which
so
has fallen on
I
tough
think this
times
is
since
where the
Deathwing's
focus should
descent.
go.
And so Rathian's coming over to the Isles with us, and he's going to try and come to terms with the state of the Dragonflight, which is a few loyal Draconids and Dragon Spawn trying to hold their ground. What can the future of the Dragonflight be if it's just Rathian? Because it's not just the dragons that are coming back to the Dragon Isles, but also their longtime rival, the Jarden.
I love the Jardins so much. They're
The
half
Jarden?
giants that wield the power of
Oh, that's
magma.
a nice
and when
blob.
the Waking Shores
I like that
and
blob.
the Dragon Isles went to
Yeah.
slumber, they also slumbered. They're back now, and they are ready to raise chaos.
Lava mammoths?
they're
Okay, I'm
massive.
in.
They're riding giant lava mammoths,
Show me one.
parading
Yeah,
around,
do it.
stomping on your face.
And they were
I want
the
stomp it on my
enemies
face.
of
Let's do
the
it.
Dragonfly for so long. They fought against the Red Dragonflight, hunted dragons down, and they're really taking this opportunity to rise up. As the
If they
Red
make
Dragonfly
steps of faith
have
with
the
a
mandate
giant
of nurturing
lava
life,
mammoth.
they don't want to just stomp
I'll
out
play it,
the
man.
dragon completely.
That'd be really
They want to
cool.
make sure that they don't have the power to affect those around them negatively, to make sure they don't go on a rampage and destroy the ecosystem that has been created here.
And so those are awesome things in the Waking Shore, but Steph, there really is only one right answer for the best thing in Waking Shores, right?
This is true. Ducks.
We finally have those webbed feet
What?
hooligans in
Those
our
ducks
game.
are
We
stupid
cracked
cute.
big technology. We've got them.
Figure
in.
I guess I get more excited about spell
Why?
effects
should
because
be
I
proud.
feel like that's something I'll interact
It's
with.
gonna be awesome.
So environments
The
and
planes come right
creatures, I
after
kind of
the
go,
Waking Shores.
come
It's
on.
so breathtaking at first
Oh,
glance.
The
centaurs, oh,
Onaran plains are
God.
big, wide open plains. And the player is going to be constricted a little bit, and then you see this big contrast of a zone. We don't always get that opportunity, that cinematic moment where the player can have a framed view when they see this area.
Come out and you got that postcard
Yeah, Lee, the
shot
big
of
rigging I was
planes,
hanging out for is
and
ducks.
then you see this giant fire proto
I
dragon
like seeing
breathing
the critters.
fire, and a
Y'all are
herd
a bunch of
centaurs,
Grinches.
like,
I'm a
swoop
Grinch because I
down
need
the
rigging.
proto
Rigging,
dragon,
otherwise
crash
I
into
can
the
already
ground,
see the
and
creature
the first
under
thing
it
you
and
get
my
to do is go help
imagination
them
isn't
kill the proto
sparked.
dragon. Like, how cool is that?
Who is Onara?
Onara is the wild god of the wind. And she's appeared before as as like this big spirit eagle. She's the one who guided the centaur to the Dragon Isles many, many years ago. She blessed them, took their caravan across, and then showed
Put in
them
the classic
plains.
centaurs. Don't upgrade them.
Fun at the beginning of this expansion was exploring the culture of
God,
the
add some horror to
Are
this
these
expansion.
mighty, awesome hunters that back when they first came to the Dragon Isles,
They
they,
were
fought the green
such a
dragons all day
hideous
long.
model.
Eventually,
Oh, yeah.
they realized that
Even
we're
in
strong,
vanilla,
you're
at the
strong.
time,
Maybe
I
we
remember
should stop
thinking, God, that's a
decimating
really
each
ugly
other's
model.
people.
They were so dangerous,
We'll make
though.
peace. We'll make an agreement.
They
You
were.
guys
They
hang
were
out
so
in the
deadly.
forest, and the centaur will hang out in the plains. But now the dragons have been gone for 10,000 years, and the centaur have come so far since then. And they've been here, and they've been existing and developing their culture. They all came over as one clan led by the mighty Maruk and Tira, and they founded a new life here. So if you want to get across,
nice
you have to
drawing.
follow
That was
their
actually- that was
rules
a very
and their
nice drawing.
traditions. You have to earn their trust. You are the first
I respect that
outsiders
drawing
to
for
come
the fur
in
and the
generations upon
flag and
generation.
all the things I
The
can't
centaur
do.
might rule the
The
open
hut that they
plains,
showed
but
in
the
game
green
when you
dragons
were
make
saying
their
they should put
home
old
in
centaur
the
in looked cool. It was a new
groves.
that was a
And
new
those
model.
groves are
Looked good.
absolutely gorgeous.
And how great a job it is that we have where I can take all of this beautiful artwork and
That
build these
wetlands looking area
beautiful
looks very,
fantasy
very
worlds,
similar to
high
stuff we've seen
fantasy.
before.
Yeah, yeah.
We want to do lots
All
of
we need
Every
is-
other
open
zone is
plain,
looking
and we
pretty
wanna
damn
be
unique.
A
creative
six-legged
with
basilisk just
but
walking
we're
through it.
restraining ourselves by letting the zone sing, letting the horizon tell the story. We certainly couldn't have done that in the vanilla WoW.
No, definitely. The zones are so big, and you can see so far, especially in Onaran Plains. So we talked to the engineers, and we actually increased that distance.
It spurs you on to want to adventure and look through the zone and explore everything.
The interesting thing for me is we have all these conflicts with the Dragonflights. There's missing dragons, there's battles, there's so much crazy stuff happening, but that's not really all we're doing. There's so much extra fun activities for people to do. And the greatest thing is that you need to figure out exactly what's going on and help solve all the problems that are just sprouting up everywhere.
We're just really excited to tell a story that's grounded in Azeroth and exploration. There's so much more to talk about.
This new island.
But now we're going to have some folks talking about the next two
What's that?
zones that players are going to experience in the Dragon Isles.
It's technically on Azeroth, but it's not Azeroth. You know, and like when people say they want to go back to Azeroth, to me that also means like incorporating
Hello,
the
everyone.
actual
My name is Kate.
kingdoms.
I'm Christy. I'm Kate.
I'm Sean.
Oh, that wasn't my take at all. It was like after Shadowlands, I just don't want to be in a
be the third zone
weird
that players adventure
universe
through, and it's
anymore.
one of our biggest zones that we've done in the Dragonflight, maybe even to date.
We knew it was going to be like the largest visual elevation change, and it really started with this great concept art. When we first were taking a look at the design, we kept coming back to one of our favorite Wrath zones, which was Grizzly Hills. And we really wanted to take that,
I
but
think them both.
wowify it more. And I don't know if you've ever been up to the Bay Area,
I'm with
but
it.
in the morning, that coastal fog comes in and dips down into the redwoods, and that sun
Yeah, that
shines
forest
through.
looks
That's
good.
really what
That
we wanted to
fog's
encapsulate
rich.
with this forest. And not only we have redwoods, but we've got all different types of trees. Eventually, it'll
This is
break
the
open
zone
into this wide
that
open
I think is
tundra
like
that's just
selling me.
golden
Like I
and
want to go
red,
run
and
around this
you'll
place
reach
really
up
bad.
to
Well, and I
another
think that's
level
something
of
to
elevation
note,
where
like
can
when
see
you
the
see
snow.
it, like the
majority of
artist
zone
in you
covered
loves
in
the
snow and
zonery, and
ice.
that's kind of
You
how
have
you
giant
get into
frozen
something.
waterfalls,
So-
ice rivers
Zones
as
are
far
a
as
big
the eye
selling
can
point
see.
for me,
And
yeah.
Sean, I know in the
Zones
forest,
and
we
like
can
playable races. Like I
expect
remember
our
like that was
first
the
creatures
thing that
we
hyped me the most
have
about
a small
BC was
group
Blood
that was
Elves.
there called the Knolls.
To me,
These
I'm
knolls
very
are
much
all
about like what
throughout
the player
forest,
can
and as
do,
you span,
and
they made
it's like
this their
Attack on
home.
Titan. Like you
Some
can
knolls
computerize the
restrained magic
entire
that we're gonna find
area
out what
around the
exactly that's
character,
about.
but as long as the
Snow
character is
knolls, or
well
as I call them,
animated,
the snolls,
that's where my eyes are
up
the whole
in
time.
Ranger
Dude, did you
area,
see
and
the new
squid
knoll?
knolls that are just gonna be
You know,
around the
they're
forest
disturbing
areas.
as they
And then we
should
go
be.
into the big
Good.
open tundra where we meet our second group, the Tuskar.
Tyler,
It's
thank
gonna
you
be
for the
really
super
neat to
chat. I'm
explore
hyped to
culture.
unionize
And those
the
kids are adorable.
Dragonflights.
I absolutely love the Tuskar.
It
Honestly,
was in
oh my gosh,
development during that. I do wonder how many
Tuskar.
union ideas are going to
So it's
be
been
in
a
the
little
game.
while since you've seen them.
Dude, the new
Tuskar
Tuskars. There's new
master
Tuskar
listing. They're
models.
also getting a nice cool upgrade
Their
for their
zone was
models,
so
along
boring.
with
I
expanded
hated
Oh,
their
get
quest.
There
out,
are
you-
gonna be
I
You
hated
didn't even
their
play
quest.
Wrath. What are you
Tuskar
talking
kids.
about? Their
So
zone
we're
was so
gonna
boring.
fight alongside them,
Down by
which
the ice there,
includes
and what was
help
that?
from
Even boring
certain
tundra.
dragons.
It was called
The blue
boring
dragons.
tundra.
We're gonna follow the story of Kalagos, our
Get out
blue
of my
dragon buddy
house.
from the Kirin Tor, and he's gonna be adventuring
Talking
into
shit about
Cindergo's
Wrath and Lich King.
archives. It's a giant zone. There's a lot of surprises. When we're done there, we head over
Oh, that's
to
interesting. What's that?
Aldraz's.
Valdraz's.
Didn't
It's
see
really
that in the-
incredible
in the B-roll.
because you will be going through some of the previous zones and seeing a lot of ruins for the dragon buildings. But when you get to Valdraz's, everything is perfectly
wanna see these
intact.
zones,
it's
man.
beautiful, it's pristine. It is the seat of power for all 5 Dragonflights. and home of the dragons.
You just like this because it's one
Feels
big
that
night
way
elf looking
with
expansion.
the huge vertical mountains. We've got these great cave systems.
Someone-
where
Grizzly
you may
Hills
end up
doesn't look
finding
night
little
elf. Someone
dragon
left the
lords.
purple on
My favorite
half
Dragonflight
these.
right now is the bronze. They've got a really cool
It's
area
called a
in
color
Valdrassus,
palette, you
and they're not
swine.
just time. There's so many cool story hooks that we can dig into
Beautiful
there.
green
So many
grass,
cool
purple
gameplay
mountains.
options.
It's called
And we have a
complementary
little bit of an
colors.
adventure
Pick
for
up a
players.
color
It'd be
wheel
a lot
once
of
in a
fun.
while.
That's what the
We really
ozone
wanted it
does.
to
Learn
feel like their
science.
old stomping grounds. One of the really cool features is going to be
You
the
can't
main
look.
city
That
and
looks
player hub of this
gorgeous,
expansion,
man. The
Valdrassus.
little pops
It
of
is a
gold, like
culmination
Nah, that-
of
that
all
does
of
look-
the
that does
Dragon's
look all right,
efforts
you know?
to put together what a city would look like. So we ended up having a bunch of really fun
I really
small
like.
vignettes where you can see that
I
the
have
blue
some art
Dragonflight
beefs with
is
Warcraft,
hosting a
but
public
I think one
library.
of their
And the
strongest
red and green
aspects is color
Dragonflights
palette.
both have their own separate gardens. We'll also have.
I think that's
some
why
convenient
ultimately
services for
Warcraft
players,
3
including a
survives the
auction
test of
house in the
time
city.
when
So it'll be
StarCraft
really
2
nice if
doesn't.
you're
Like
looking for more
it's just
exotic
vibrant
wares.
and very
The
interesting
thing that
looking.
really sold me
There's
on
a lot
with
to
you.
see.
was the
It's more
initial concept
stylized,
of
and
Eagle
hyper stylization always ages
And
better
this is a
than hyper realism.
10,000-year-old Titan
Even though
technological
Warcraft
marvel.
3
Coeurl
original
has
looks
these
like butt,
awesome
it
aqueducts that
because
actually come
it
out from the
expresses
structure
so
all the
much.
way
It's
to the
very
city
interesting to
across the
watch once
valley.
you're kind of cued
And
into
in
it.
the cinematic, there's just this
Yeah.
amazing shot where you see Alexstrasza swoop under one of them, and there's splashes of water cresting across her wings. So when players are flying around themselves, they get to have their Alexstrasza moment. What an incredible place and filled with so much history.
Tyrhold was built by Tyr. He was a Titan Keeper back in the day who helped the Aspects fight Galakrond. And when they settled on the Dragon Isles, he built this facility. And even
Your
though Tyr's
aesthetic
gone,
is not
the
my
dragons
favorite,
have held
but
him
this
in
at least
reverence.
looks,
But that
you know,
was 10,000 years
semi-unique
ago,
for Warcraft.
and they've
That's
let their
true.
Titans
Like if
maintain
it's something I'm not
place, and an
inherently
incredible
into,
amount
at
of
least
history
like
has happened
again,
since
like I
then.
said when I
Flights
was
have been
watching
nearly
cinematic,
wiped
like
out.
I
There
felt like
have
I was
been
seeing something different.
invasions, betrayals, Aspects have died. And these are the kind of things that leave marks.
I think it's stronger
on a
with all the dragons
society.
flying around
So
though. I
now
wish
they're all
cinematic
back
was more of
here,
that.
And they're all here together.
As we were designing
Like
the
more of a
zone
focus
and
on the
the
dragons
city
than
itself,
whoever
we're trying to
these
figure out, you know, how
Titan
do we
dudes
tell
are.
those stories? At the
I've
same
never
time as making
really
sure that this is a really
understood the
convenient
dragons'
place for
motives
players
to
go and,
participate with
you know, go
mortals,
shopping,
though.
as they tend to do. So much
So I've got a
adventuring happening on the
fundamental like
Dragon
break
Isles.
there
So
that
cool.
that's the question I really
As a
want them to
player,
answer in
you
this.
probably don't have your own dragon wings.
It's been
You
mentioned in
are
the
going to
past, like there's
learn the
entire
art
novels
of
and shit
dragon
dedicated to that
riding.
stuff
It's
because
so
they're like
vertical, and
protectors
I'm
of
just excited
Azeroth.
to like dive off the top
Or were some of them went
and
mad,
swoop under
like your
things.
Death
It's
Wings and
actually
your
one of the things that
Malagoses.
we're about to learn about next.
Hi, I'm Jake. I'm Andy.
I'm Kali.
And I'm Graham. And I'm really excited to
This guy
talk
looks
to you
like
guys
Peter
today
Parker.
about the Dracula Evoker, our new race and class coming in Dragonflight.
Oh,
We're
thank
here to
God.
talk
This
about
is someone
not
with
only
gauges.
the
I feel
Evoker, but
represented.
also
Oh, finally,
Dragonflight,
finally.
Which is our exciting expression into the exploration.
Table number
of the
2 is still my
Dragon
favorite.
Isles.
You
We knew it
know,
was a dragon
no
team
shade
expansion.
thrown at the
We
various
knew that
tables, but table
you
number 2 was
play a
stoked.
dragon. Not a
Dude,
big
this is
dragon,
the strongest part of the whole
Alexstrasza size, that'd be
presentation.
tough
It's
to
just
Yeah.
going from actual developer to developer. I mean, not that like Ian isn't a developer. I didn't mean that, but like going, it seems more like these are the people in the trenches.
Yeah, no, and that's the
Rather
people
than
we've been
leads.
cheering throughout this whole ordeal with the scandal and all. It's like we want to respect the developers' hard work, not the corporate side of things. And frankly, a lot of those faces have become very corporatized. So it's just nice to be like, the designers, tell me why you love it.
And to show that,
Yeah,
we created a visual
I
what we call
agree.
a prismatic effect. This prismatic effect is basically the coalescence of all their
Here we
energy
go.
as they channel it into
We're getting
whatever
the spell
spell that they're
effects.
going to cast. You have a red magic spell called Pyre. So when you shoot it out of your mouth, it twirls in the air with all 5 of the Dragonflight's magic as it turns into
That's
the
a Final
red spell
Fantasy
before
14 that looks
landing
very
on your
tame.
enemies and exploding and hopefully
that is
burning
true.
them
That
up
is
and-
true.
That one. Getting that vibe across that they use all 5 was really important to us, but we did want to make sure that each specialization focused on 2, because casting 5 different colors gets a bit messy. So their damage dealer specialization, their first of 2, Devastation, mostly focuses on red and blue magic.
The
Red being
wing
very
buffet
fast
effect
and
they show in the
explosive,
like in the
burning
original
everything with
reveal
fire,
looked really cool
whereas
to
blue is
me.
more
Yeah.
focused and overwhelming.
Well,
You
naturally,
shoot a beam of
here's the
energy
storm.
out of your
I
mouth
like
to
a good buffet.
disintegrate one single enemy in front of you.
There's a healer spec
You a Chinese
called
buffet fan?
Preservation. The healer spec is going to focus
mostly
My
on your
biggest
green and
concern
your
with
bronze
this
magic.
is
So
what
your
they
green
did
is gonna
with
be evocative
Warlock
of the Emerald
and
Dream, your growth and your nurturing
Demon
spells.
Hunter.
And then
And
you have your bronze magic, which is going to be more
I'm worried they're just
timey-wimey.
gonna
So you get
cut
to
from other
heal the wound
classes to make
faster.
this new
So
one.
in addition addition to the
because
visuals,
that's what
the
they did with
animation, which
Demon
all
Hunter, and
make
it
you feel very
really,
powerful,
really
we
sucked
really
as
wanted
someone who's a
the
big fan
player
of
to
the
have a
Warlock
physical
build.
connection to the cast. We have a new type of
I
spell
don't- I've
called
never
Empower,
made that
where
connection,
when you
and
actually
so
hold down the
I'm not sure
button
how
on
I
the
feel about
keyboard,
that.
it
I'm not sure I
charges up
understand it.
spell.
Because
Form
you had a
charges up,
demon
it runs
form as
more
Warlock,
damage,
and then they
more
cut that
targets
from you
depending
to
on
give
spell,
it to
and
another
gives you this
class. So
really
who
physical
is being cut
connection
in order to
control.
make
It's
this
new for
class
World of Warcraft,
happen?
and I
Is
think it's
my
feeling
fear.
really, really good.
We
Like,
have some
is
great
Arcane Mage
animations.
suffering
Thank you.
because
Eddie, you're
what we just saw
doing
was
it.
Arcane
You
Mage?
feel physical when you're casting your spells.
You can actually fly around the battlefield and cast.
I forgot
while
about Demon
flying.
Form
Raining
Warlock.
fire
It was
and
fun.
death from
It was really
above.
fun.
It's great.
In addition to the gameplay, though, another part of feeling draconic is looking
I would
like a
argue an
dragon.
Well, we
entire
talk about
class is
dragons
more
breathing
fun.
fire, but you know what's actually fire?
What's actually?
I do like Demon
customizations.
Hunters. Lighting is
But
cool.
no, they're really, really
They're
cool.
awesome.
Glad they
Because
left
you have
that
both
in.
your draconic form and your humanoid form, and the customization options for both of them are amazing.
They're very good.
What about color? Just tell me you
tell
can
us about the
change
colors.
color.
You can do a lot of matching. So your Visage form can have scales that are the same color as your Drakthir form.
But my favorite, super favorite part of customization for the visage form, hair.
Yeah.
Because I can actually do this in game.
Yeah.
The tech is here.
We finally did it.
As players make their way through each of the areas
Huh,
of
if
the
only there was
Dragon
another
Isles,
game where that
they'll
tech
partner
existed.
up with the Dragonflights to move
What
through the
tech?
air as they've
To
never
have two
done
colors
before.
in your hair.
You'll notice I did not say
Oh,
flying
yeah.
because
Yeah.
flight has a very specific meaning for World of Warcraft.
Yeah, it does.
And we're talking about something new called dragon riding.
Okay,
And
so here's the big selling
players are
point.
honing
If-
their dragon riding skills, they're going to get to see all new animations that go along with the different look and feel of the drakes.
We're aiming to shake up movement with this new system, providing players with a deeper immersion with forces like momentum and
Yes,
gravity.
that's what I care.
We
I
knew
want to
that
see.
for Dragonflight,
I
we're
don't
gonna
want
have
to
the
see myself
opportunity
turn
to show players
on a
whole
dime. I
new set
really
of
want
Dragon
to.
Isle drakes,
You know,
completely
fly.
unique from all the other things they've seen in World of Warcraft. And so we wanted to come up with a movement system.
That's what I was trying to
that would add
articulate,
that sense
was
of
that it looked
physics,
like there
weight, and
was
gravity, like you were
momentum and
mentioning.
like
We knew it
mass,
was
and
gonna
you
take
weren't
a
just
huge team
turning right
effort, not just
immediately, that you actually had to
animation,
kind of
but it was
curve
gonna
into
take
the turn
effects.
as you're flying a
It was gonna
dragon.
take the engineering team.
Because like I would
who
fire up
we
Banjo
rely on
Kazooie just to
heavily,
fly around
and
as a
that
bee,
combined
or
with some
Mario
animations
in
really
Mario
helps to lend
64.
that
Like
feeling
Yeah,
of
that's a
physics
really
as
good
you move through
example
the air
of what, at
in
least
ways that you
visually,
haven't
what this
before.
looks
And
like.
the icing on the cake is going to be some really cool effects that we've added on top of all
So
of
if
that.
they can land
So, for
that, then
example, when you
yeah,
start
yeah,
hitting,
Microsoft
maximum
Dragonflight Simulator,
velocity, you
exactly.
see
Like
contours
yeah,
on
really.
the
Flying
edges of the
looks
wings.
really good.
And then as you do
That
your rolls
dive
and spirals,
animation
you build up more and
is
more
sick.
speed. There's going to be some screen
Again,
effects
hi,
on the display to indicate that
I like
you're
How to Train
reaching
Your Dragon, and
maximum
I'm getting How
which
to Train
really
Your
adds
Dragon.
to the
Ooh,
overall
Lee,
kind of
Anthem Flight
immersion
looked
and
good
sense of
too.
reality.
Burn.
As players
Hey,
make
no,
their
no,
way
no, no,
through
no,
the
no,
Dragon
no.
Isles,
You know
they'll
what?
discover new
Anthem Flight
cosmetic
was good.
It was
It was
good.
basically the only fun thing about that game.
Yeah,
Things like
I think that's the point they're making.
horns,
I think
Yeah,
that you played
giving
into their
some Dragon
hand.
Isle Drake armor and more.
Can I have spikes?
Definitely.
Okay.
We want to provide players with all new skills to play with, as those who can use.
I
their
want really
momentum
ugly
well
dragons though,
can
like
reach
How to
higher
Train Your
and higher
Dragon. I want
heights
the
and bring
chunky
on
ones. I
new,
want the
more
two-headed
difficult
ones. Like
challenges.
We just have
you
so many
really
new
spectrum
gorgeous
it out.
options to choose from, and
Well,
I'm just
they're
so
not.
excited for all
They're
of them.
doing that.
I'm
It
excited
seems
for the
like
whole thing.
within
I mean, it's
their
been a lot of
like
fun to work
Warcraft's
on,
dragon
but
language,
I can't
because we
wait to
don't have
actually
two-headed
get in
dragons
the
in
game, play
Warcraft.
it
Those
with
are
you guys. I
either
can't wait. I can't
Hydra
wait to fly
or
around Dragon Isles.
Wyvern.
This is gonna be great.
Next up, you're going to hear
or
about the
Chimera
talent
is what I'm
revamp
thinking.
and the UI changes coming in
Wyvern's
Dragonflight.
one-headed. But they're like, there's still like riffs on proto drakes in this and whatnot.
Hello, my name is Brian.
I'm Crash.
I'm Jay.
And I'm Laura.
I'm really excited
we are very
for this
excited
panel
to share, so we're
because
finally
I want to see.
revamping the WoW HUD UI.
Yeah.
And it is also
the UI
time for a
stuff.
major revamp to talents and specializations.
I have a big question for the group. How long do you think it took for us to finally revamp the WoW HUD?
Oh, I should
I
have
guess
figured
it's
the
about
absolutely
15
ripped
years.
dude was Helenka.
Close. 18 years. 18
years.
I haven't seen Helenka in a while.
You know, technology has changed a lot since we made the UI back in 2000.
The thing about Final Fantasy is you're working within the system, so it's impressive. Like there's a challenge there, and when I customize it, I feel like I'm cheating the system, and that gives me like an edge, and I really like that feeling. So I want more power in game.
If you look at the HUD looks like
It's two very different.
So when we approached this, we
Like,
wanted to
takes
create
though, right? Because
a
WoW just
layout experience
embraces
that players could
add-ons,
customize,
whereas
move
Final
things
Fantasy
around,
14
adjust
doesn't
it to
allow
fit
them.
their
Yeah.
needs.
add-ons today.
That's like that's a
they do a lot
huge.
for player
That's a
customization.
just
The
a
downside
Grand
is
Canyon
that not
sarcasm
everybody
between
uses
two
them.
games in
It's
my
about
mind.
time that everybody has the opportunity to use them, that they become a part of the base UI.
Yeah, and we are working very closely with our user research team to make sure we are hitting the goals that our player needs.
It allowed us to add new functionality, to improve accessibility in a lot of areas, and on top of that, we are going to be improving the art.
Yeah, so the art update, it's a big part of this project. The UI that we have today has a lot of charm and personality, and players have been using that for 18 years.
They're just talking about like upgrading the
with that
Griffins,
in mind, we want to respect the players who really like the current UI, but do a more than
Oh, you mean like the little the art on the side of your bar?
more visibility for your gameplay. So the new minimap, it looks bigger.
I'm really
and
liking
the
how
health
this
bar
UI is
also much
looking.
bigger. If you look at the action
Also, as someone who
bars
hasn't
in
played in
the
a while
bottom
and is going to
menus,
get back in,
they
and all
have
my
less
add-ons are going to be
head frames,
busted. Like,
and
I
you
hate
can really
add-ons.
open up
I absolutely hate
your
them.
gameplay.
I
So you
don't. I'm not a
have
fan
lot of
either. I use them
UI
because I had to.
And of course, we want to find
But I'm not. I can't say I'm a fan, especially as someone who reinstalls so much and I don't save my add-on stuff.
They were so rage-inducing as a raider because I and BFA made a choice not to use boss mods and learn the fights instead. And when other people would die with boss mods and I didn't, like, the game is yelling at you and dinging and screaming, like, how did you mess this up? And that idea that the add-ons are at war with the raids is just so disgusting.
And each of those different components will have
I'm
various
disgusted,
sets
Garrett.
of options that you'll be able to work with. They'll be able to save it.
You
edit it, copy
you
it,
are high maintenance.
I
Also,
am.
it'll
But the game
remember
asked,
spectrum,
it's a high maintenance
so
game. It
if
asked
you're
me to be
someone
in
who
this
jumps around a
relationship.
lot, as you switch, it will
You
switch
didn't know.
to
You
whatever
the game
HUD
didn't
layout
ask you. The
have for that
community
spec.
asked you.
This is an ongoing project. We're gonna keep
Your guild
working
asked
on
you,
it.
and it sounds
So
like you had some shitty
we really
raiders
wanna
if they're
hear
dying
back
with
from
boss mods.
A project that we're all excited about that we've been
Like maybe
collaborating a
you
lot
had
on is
maybe you
something
were
that's
just playing with
pretty
people who
UI
suck.
intensive, and that's the talent system.
Because I left the guild because people sucked. That's how much I was sick of shitty raiders.
With how can we have players have more
I
choice
faction
over
jumped
what
to
their
avoid
character has?
shitty players.
As you level up, we give you a new spell or a new ability, something that kind of makes you stronger, but it's determined by the designers. We decide the order. Yeah, we started looking for a system that would give players a much wider set of options. And after looking at all those things, what we really returned back to was the idea of trees. But it's actually two trees. We have a class tree that offers different class utility, and then we have a spec tree that is focused on performing your role, whether that's damage, tank, or healing.
Can I just jump in and say that I personally am super excited about having trees come back. There's a big nostalgia hit for me.
As we said, we have these two trees because we feel like picking a specialization is a really important part of your World of Warcraft character now. And so we want to make sure that when you choose that, it kind of affects the tree in some way. Yeah, as soon as you open your talent tree, you'll see something new. The class side will have some abilities filled out for free, just kind of starting you off in that spec you've chosen, but then you'll have your first point to spend in the class tree, which could be something related to that spec or role, or it could be something from elsewhere in the class. There's a lot of things that we can do here, and part of that is encouraging players to perhaps make combinations that they've never really been able to see in the game before.
Right,
This is
the
an
half specs.
opportunity
Those are really fun to
put
do
a
for
lot
PvP
more art
particularly.
and fantasy in the actual talent UI itself.
This is the kind of stuff, though, where I start to kind of glaze over, and I'm like, I don't know, without being in the game and getting to play it myself, like, I think this is really difficult to articulate in a sales pitch.
And not necessarily have to commit. The power really is coming back to the player. It's not something we want people to feel locked into, and so one of the things that we'll be preserving is the ability to change these talents at the same kind of frequency that you do now. Yeah, the old school players, when you see trees this time, just think, yeah, I'll go from my raid night to my arena match and figure out what I think is the best for both of them. And that's a process we want to make really fluid. So we're building a save load feature that lets you
I know we want to return to some more classic ideals, I think, for some players, myself included, but I don't really want it to be dogmatic
We've made all these
again.
different cool things over the years, but when are they at their coolest?
Christopher, thank
It's when
you
players
for the
can
super chat.
hold the
Do
building
not
blocks
trust
of what they
Azeroth
make up
Arbor
their
Day.
class, their spec, and put them
What?
together in a way that works
Oh,
for them.
trees. The Arbor, yeah, they're bringing back the trees.
Oh,
yeah,
I get it.
I got
The
it.
joke was too good. I'm too dense for that.
Things we've been doing. We can't
I'm
wait
still
to see the
thinking about
reaction
ducks.
that you have to them, and please reach out to us and let us know your thoughts on them. And next up, we're going to talk about professions in Dragonflight.
Profession revamp. All
Now-
right, this is where I really start to tune out.
Well, this is interesting to me because one of the things about Final Fantasy that
I'm
makes
Joanna.
it feel so
And I'm Eric.
alive is
Now
that
we're
you
gonna talk
see
about our
people in all
plans
these
for
different professions with all these
Dragonflight.
different glams.
Professions have been a staple
And when
of
you see
World
like a
of
super
Warcraft
chef
forever.
run by,
We've
you know
seen
that's
lots
not
of
like
really
their commitment. They're not a chef all the time, and that kind of
For
gives the world
Dragonflight, we wanted to do
flavor.
something a bit different.
So when they
We
talked
wanna
about the
rethink
gear that makes the
professions and
profession,
figure out how to make them
that's kind of
part of your
interesting
identity
visually
as
to
a
me when I
player.
see a
That's what you
city.
want. We really
Oh
wanna
yeah, I
make sure
agree.
that
But I think for me, that's just kind of where it begins and ends for me. I'm like, oh cool, I'm excited. There's going to be more visual diversity and it's visuals that like mean something. So when I see it, I know what that player accomplished and what that player did, and it just it adds to the world. But for me, like I've just never been big into professions.
You can basically browse
to me,
any of the
it's been
recipes that can
one
be
of the
crafted,
weaker points of World of
pick the one you
Warcraft
want for
forever.
yourself, and
Like
then
I
you
don't have a lot of fun
include
with them.
for all of the reagents needed for the recipe, including ones that only you can get your hands on. You can find someone in person to do it right in front of you for you. Or you can also go to an NPC and using an auction house-like interface, send the order out. If you're doing this, you can pick, do you want to send the order to anyone, sort of a public order, or do you want to only send it to your guild, or to a specific other player?
Are they going
It's
to
a
keep
friend
it
who you know
to
will be able
profession
to craft the
limitation
item
though?
really well for you.
If you are really dedicated to your craft, you're going to be the best at what you do.
One of
I
the
feel like
coolest
they
things
would have
about
already
this
mentioned
is the item you had crafted can also be soul bound.
if they were
In
getting
the
rid
past,
of
you could only get your hands on crafted soul bound
limitation.
items by having that profession yourself. Now anyone can have them crafted for them, which is really neat and really expands the number of items that we can provide that are really powerful because everyone can have them crafted through the crafting honor system.
This is also really cool because it means as a crafter, you can start building your client base. People are going to come back to you to get certain items. Maybe you're the best at making it, or you always throw in a little
I mean,
something
that's
extra.
lived and
You're
breathed
also
in,
gonna be
kind of
leveling
world.
up your
That's for me where I'm like,
profession, which is
oh,
really
I
great.
don't
So
want
the
a
first
client
time
base.
You go to craft,
Oh
you're gonna
my
notice a lot of
god.
different things, but probably the
That is
biggest
not my
is the
fantasy
introduction of
to be
quality, both to your
maintaining
crafted
clients.
items and your gathered reagents. Quality works in a pretty simple way. If you craft something that's
I mean,
higher
me neither,
quality,
because I
it's
just don't like
gonna be
professions.
better.
But I
For a piece of
definitely
gear,
know some
that
players that would
probably
get
means
stoked
a
about
higher
that.
item
I'm
level.
horrible
If
at
it's,
making
for instance,
gold,
a potion,
guild, whatever
then
it
that
may
might
be.
mean
I'm
a
just
more
not.
powerful
I'm not a
effect at
money
higher
maker in
quality.
games.
And
No,
we're doing a lot
I
of new
want
things in the
to
UI.
play. I don't want to have a
Put a lot
job.
of work into it to make sure that the professions
I get that a
feel
lot of their
really
hardcores
special
are
and
into that.
unique.
And another thing you might notice in the crafting UI that's new is the introduction of stats specifically to your professions, both crafting and gathering. And this is another sort of major input into quality. Probably the biggest source of your ability
Quality,
to craft
okay,
items
yeah,
at a
they're
higher
really going
quality
for the
is through
FF14 crafting, which is great,
specializations.
you know.
We've had crafting specializations in the past, as far back as original World of Warcraft. With Dragonflight, you can go out and earn specialization points in a whole
Honestly, I was
bunch of
expecting to
different
see more
ways.
kind of
So
blatant
maybe you find an
through
old
lines
book
to
on a
Final
bookshelf in a
Fantasy.
ruin somewhere, or a hermit in a cave who can teach you a little bit about your profession. So let's say you're a blacksmith, and you might decide that first you want to become an armor smith. And the more points you spend in armor smithing, the better you're going to get at crafting all armor.
This also means that if you specialize one way, other people in your guild may specialize in a completely different path. So this means that your guild could have
That was
several
fun in
top
BC. I
blacksmiths,
liked
and
being
everybody's providing something
potion
unique
spec
and valuable to the team,
alchemist.
which is really cool.
Now that reminds me of
Yeah.
another update. We're actually
forgot about
adding
that.
crafting tables to all the different crafting professions. We're going to take those and we're going to put them all in the main city of Valdrakken. And you know,
So
you
yeah,
go in
it
there and
definitely,
you're
it
gonna
almost
get to
seems like
see
they're going more
all the different
specialized,
players
which you
crafting
could
their
say is more
items at their
restrictive
crafting
versus
tables.
more open.
Yeah,
right?
it means you're gonna walk into the city and you're gonna see like all these alchemists huddled over here, and you're gonna see all these blacksmiths over by the forge. There will be other players filling orders or grabbing orders. There's gonna be a whole
It's an
new
interesting
crafting
idea.
area
Like
that's
they do
gonna
have a
make you feel
problem
really
in
part
the
of
past with
world.
the
It just
cities
seems like a
feeling
much more
filled out, so they
lively
want to add
area than
HUDs that
housing
everyone's
lots.
going to
What I'm
gather
most
around
excited
to
about,
add
though,
that
is the gear.
population.
We're introducing new types of gear for every profession, and
I mean,
when
it's
you
just as
go
long as it's
to
not quartering
say
us
mining
off in
mode, you're
garrisons
actually
again.
gonna just switch
I'm
into that
okay.
gear.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really great.
Just
You're not
let
gonna
me
have to
see
carry
other
that
players
stuff
in
around
your
in your backpack
multiplayer game.
anymore. There's actually going to be dedicated slots for each of your pieces of gear. But I'm a numbers guy. I love progressing. All pieces of profession gear will have those special stats that we mentioned before on them. And as you get your hands on better versions of the gear, you know, it's really going to help you get better at your profession.
I can't wait.
Thank you for tuning in to the Dragonflight Deep Dive.
You've heard a lot about the content and changes
You're
coming in
welcome.
Dragonflight, and we've got a lot more in store for you in the coming months.
Oh,
Until then,
thank you guys
we'll
for
see you
watching.
Azeroth.
Yeah. That's it? Is that the end?
That's it.
There's
Oh,
a
they really should have ended with the Hezekiah round table instead of starting.
as a fan not streaming, I would have turned it off. I would have gone for a bullet point. I would not have. Okay.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh, it's auto starting the next video.
Yeah.
Content.
All right. What I'm gonna.
How are we feeling, chat?
Yeah. We could put it to a poll. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna grab the start here and mute it, and we can kind of chill with the video running around in the background.
A dig. Hit it with the old mute.
I give it 3 out of 10, says R. Brutal, but ugh.
Use your words, Kyle.
All right, so well, I haven't had to, like I covered Here's the Storm, which very much felt on the outside of the whole scandal thing. We kind of had a position there where it was like we were already outside the company looking at it and being like, what the hell are you guys doing? What's going on over there? Because I had already quit WoW at that point. So I haven't really had to deal with my opinions of the company in that way, but I was really, really excited for Warcraft 3. I love RTS. Warcraft 3 is the reason I play computer games in the first place. And that burn was so personal. What they did to Here's the Storm, that was business. I understand. You got to delete a roller coaster at your roller coaster tycoon. You got to recover money. You went too hard on esports. You went too hard on a MOBA in 2017. Like, I get it. But what they did to Warcraft 3 is a personal hit that I have not forgiven them for. And any sort of thoughts of returning to WoW is going to make me deal with that pent-up anger I have about the scandal and Warcraft 3. So I'm working through that at the same time. I do like How to Train Your Dragon. I love How to Train Your Dragon. I think it's a blast. And it's only gotten more wholesome as I've become a dad. And all the dad stuff means more to me, right? Like, it's interesting. So that's my hesitation as I think about this today. But you seem to be pretty on it. You seem to enjoy this.
I mean, some of this is coming from, I feel like my thoughts about how unplayable I think current WoW is known. So I'm kind of just like, I wanted to leave that at the door. And if they didn't bring forward what I see as some of the absolute biggest failures of Warcraft writing, if they didn't bring that into the next expansion, I was kind of willing to look at it with an open mind. And I think they did that. I didn't see Azerite, frickin' Azeroth blood planet juice firing up out of cracks. I didn't see Sylvanas. I didn't want to see any of that, and I didn't see it. And so in that way, I like it. Like, this feels like a standalone expansion, the way I kind of liked it back in the day. Like, Vanilla felt like its own thing. BC felt like its own thing. Wrath of the Lich King felt like its own thing. Even Kato, which I don't really like, felt like its own. It's its own, contained story and experience. And that's what this feels like. Whereas Shadowlands felt like a direct sequel to BFA. And I didn't like BFA that much to begin with. So Shadowlands, like, already was starting off at a really, to me, awkward. It was already on the back foot as far as me caring. So in that way, I think that's why I'm coming at this with a more positive look. Because I'm like, just don't show me Azerite and don't show me Sylvanas, because I'm over it and I don't care. And I think you did a miserable job with those stories and making me care.
I think that's a fair. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like, I'm the least invested I've ever been, so I'm kind of already over it. I guess I'm not angry anymore. I've moved on to passive indifference. So I'm looking at this just like, oh, that looks cool. And that's like, I'm kind of back to basics. Like, I want to see cool zones, and I wasn't even thinking about flying, but their complete backpedaling of flying in the Hazakastas years, I think, is, to me, like, one of the most infuriating things in the world. I hate looking at devs and making them the poster child, and I don't like it when people are like, when they sit there, like, community wise, speaking generally here, and they have these thoughts where, or like, they make the proclamations of like, I don't like being told that I don't want this thing. But that is 100% how I feel about Hazakastas and flying. Like, when Hazakastas has multiple times been like, yeah, we're like just avoiding it or pushing it off or turning it into yet another systems grind for an expansion. That's you want me to get grumbly on the level you are. That's where it exists. That's where I'm like, no, you're just wrong, and you refuse to listen to the community, right? Because if I had to sit here and as I've said before, if I remove my Arthas fanboyism, I think Legion is the best expansion they ever made, which was primarily, I would say, like the modern WoW team. Like modern WoW as I know it, I would say Legion is part of that. But this, I think the second best expansion is Wrath of the Lich King. And Wrath of the Lich King had 2 endgame zones designed around flying. And all you had to do was pay for it. And you just got to experience it because you're already freaking flying. You already earned flying in BC. Why do I have to earn it again through mindless grinding? So I feel very passionate about that. I think taking away flying and making it a chore is an insult to the years I've spent playing this game. So to me, that's a massive positive. So I think you need to understand my thoughts on that to understand why when you say, oh yeah, no, we've got this like training your dragon flight mechanic where you're going to be kind of like a shitty flyer when you start and you'll be a better flyer as you progress. Like that's a big positive to me. Plus it looks good.
Do you think it'll be a non-flying mount for a time though? Like, does our dragon have to learn to crawl first before it can fly?
It sounded like they said that I think you're going to be able to glide or fall with style, kind of a thing, in the beginning.
Yeah, I'd be down.
Which
for
I'm
that.
fine with. I'm fine with if that's okay. If it is this thing that while I'm playing, I just progressively get better, and as I progress through your zones, the later zones have just like full on flying in mind, and you designed them with this verticality where you took that into account, then I'm down with it. Because I was never. Sorry, let me think about this. I really didn't like that you could fly at the beginning of Cataclysm. Did you play Cata at launch?
No, not at launch at all. No.
Okay, it was literally dive bomb. You'd be out trying to kill like a quest mob, and 20 people would descend out of the sky at 350% mount speed, murder the thing, and then fly straight back up. It was this like you would just fly along, dive bomb, kill the thing, get back up, fly to the next thing, dive bomb, kill it. And I didn't like that. I do think that impacted like the sense of exploration and seeing the next zone. Like, I'm not saying I just want to fly all the time from the get-go from day one, but I also don't want to wait until like a 0.2 patch and have to grind rep with a new frickin' faction or something either. To me, that's just like insufferable, and I don't want to do it. So I like a middle ground. Like I've said back when I used to do WoW content, it came up a lot, and I'm like, yeah, Wrath did flying right. Wrath is how I think they should have always done flying, which is you start on the ground, and as you near end game, you can start flying again. And those later end zones, as you start kind of feeling like you're reaching that end game, we're going to empower you by giving you flying back, and the zones are going to be designed with flying in mind. I really liked that about Wrath.
They're going to have to work really hard to recover the story for me, because you added time travel, which automatically ruins so much of your cemented canon and how my brain will play with your pieces of lore and how I can construct them. They're having some through line purposes anyway. Like, and of course it's changed ownership a lot, who's writing it, who's directing it. There's going to be those hiccups and those retcons. Those are fine by me, but I don't have a relationship to the world because of time travel and then going to the universe of the dead. Like, that was the first expansion I never bought. Not because of hate for WoW or speaking with my wallet. I just simply did not care for a world at its current state of its current story where we were talking to dead characters, because that removed all the weight. If I'm talking dead characters in Final Fantasy, I really care because I really care about those characters. I did not care to visit anyone in death, so I was already disconnected. So bringing back the Dragonflight is a huge possibility because those characters are so interesting, the dragons and their human forms. Their personalities are so interesting and layered, but they also have a lot of intricacy. Like, Alexstrasza's been through some serious shit over the years, and Tides of Darkness and everything that she's been through. If we can tap into those storylines and make them relate to our character or more personal, and we kind of get on the level with those dragons, that it's something that I feel like I'm able to participate in and involve my character, then I can care about so much in the world. So much more just beyond, the graphics or the systems, because I have that invested interest. And
I'm with you there. I think that you're getting into part of why I think I'm leaning positive on this. Is it just feels like cool. We have the opportunity for a clean break from the BFA arc into Shadowlands, and to me it looks like they're taking it.
And with like Dan User, I know that that's the guy who is willing to step forward, and in a lot of companies, it's up to the individual to be that person who wants to step forward. I mean, we have our Ben Broads who just kind of emerged from the environment and said, yeah, you know what, I'll walk on stage, I'll volunteer, and the community loved him. But you've also got examples like Ice Frog in Dota, who is a mysterious superhero kind of persona, and we don't know who balances Dota, but that kind of gives them that protection. And I think that's really important when you want to go home at the end of the day and just be a person, rather than having to be Chris Metzen in public or even Ben Broad in public. And so I really respect Dan User for putting that weight upon him. And I don't believe that it's all his fault. However, Shadowlands' story was really, really weak. And here they didn't give me a bad guy again. Like the Titans are, and they may have like things. Like, why are we so nebulous about villains? I guess we weren't nebulous about the jailer and he was bad, so maybe it's time to be nebulous again. But the whole joy.
Oh, that's fair. I guess I did not come out of this having any clue who the villain is.
Like, what's wrong with their home? Like, why did they leave for 10,000 years? Why does it need saving? Why can't they, as giant dragon people, save it? Why do they need me? Because I'm the Maw Walker? Because I'm the champion? Like, what power do I have to influence? And there's your home. It looks fine. Looks normal, Joey Stone.
That's an interesting thought. I guess through the lens of Warcraft, where everything is constantly trying to kill you, this looks normal.
The stone man, stone boy, he's doing all right. He had to climb, he thored it, and he got through okay. So what influence do I have? What am I bringing to this island that the dragons are even going to need me? Someone who is all going to arrive on their shores and have to train a baby, whether it's gliding or actual flying, like, just fly up there and channel the thing. Don't wait for me because you guys disagree with each other. Maybe we'll have to like play intermediary, but then the characters have to be that much more interesting. And I do think Rathion's that interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think Alex Straza is too. And Ysera she's dead now. Spoiler alert.
Oh no. Wait, no, she came back all corrupted, right? Wasn't she like
well, and then we killed her again.
Oh, it's okay.
Immediately. Yeah, she came back she was corrupted and we killed her,
okay.
And she dead, and we saw her in Shadowlands.
No,
she was one of
Shadowlands. She like was a seed pod or something in like the light, and then she appeared. I thought she was back. I thought she came
not in the mortal world. She's back in the realm of death.
Oh, okay. So nothing matters in Shadowlands.
I did stop playing Shadowlands, so if something else happened, I don't know, but yeah, no, she's in the Shadowlands. For the most part, I like the aspects, like Chromie, like really, I think like who's boring? I guess Nosdormu. I couldn't tell you shit about Nosdormu, but Caligos, Alexstrasza, Chromie, they're all characters. Like we kind of have a sense of who they are and their characters, and there's there were implications at the end of Cataclysm. I don't really remember. I think it's like could be misspeaking here, but like they're mortal or something now. There's something happened to like their power, and they're kind of like placed in the food chain with the death of Deathwing. I forget exactly it's not my favorite lore. I'm not an expert in it, but I know there was like by the end of that, like the state of the aspects in the grand scheme of things was changed. Yeah, chat room saying technically all aspects are now mortal. But yeah, like I said, I'm leaning positive. But again, it's like I'm coming from a place of like the kind of the lowest I've ever felt about WoW. So my expectations were kind of non-existent. So it's kind of like, I don't know, show me something that isn't it does not have roots in BFA, and I'll be mildly interested.
I think there's a lot of people who would rather play 2 MMOs if they could. Like, I don't think the factions, or the tribalism, as people like to describe it, is so strong that if WoW was great, that Final Fantasy players wouldn't move between the two and between patches. I mean, both can have their own unique flavors, and I don't think that's an issue right now. I'm definitely coming from
That's where I'm at, is like, I'm not looking to go back to WoW full time. I don't really think I ever want to go back to that. Like, I don't think I ever want to go back to only gaming. Like, this is my only game. Like, WoW kind of gave me a gift by making me not care about it. Like, I've missed dancing around other game titles with more frequency, and so that I was kind of looking at it like, another thing in the back of my mind was, is this going to be another systems deep nightmare? Like, is this something that's going to ask me for all my time, or will I be able to, go visit WoW and then bounce back to Final Fantasy 14 while still working on something like Elden Ring in the background? Is that something I can balance sanely without going too deep into it? And I guess they didn't really answer that. Although I will say, nothing they showed looked like it was overly systems deep. Was that omission on purpose? I don't know.
And absolutely, like Final Fantasy, you could spend 4-6 hours a day doing every daily. The interesting thing about those systems is, like, last night I did Wondrous Tales, and other nights I'll do crafting, and other nights I'll go after my challenge log. And I feel like when I complete these kind of weekly events, like, I had so many choices for what I wanted to do that I spent my time wisely, even though I had 2 hours of, post-family farm time, as it were, at night. And with WoW, I either did it all or I got nothing done. And that's really where that separation of dailies came in. And then the game basically described to me, we're a raiding game. Everything you do is so you can raid. And then the raids replace the gear with dailies. The daily gear would catch up to what the raid was, and so the point of raiding didn't exist either. And when you combat the add-ons, you don't feel like you're really raiding anymore. So they have such a personality struggle they're having with who I'm supposed to be for your game. And that's why I'm needy, because you're asking so much of me. I'm going to ask a lot of you. And that's why I'm afraid of things like talents. I'm worried that we're just going to go Google it. And I didn't find myself, it really wowed me. I didn't find myself missing talents at all in Final Fantasy. Like, there was no point. I was, level 30, and I just kind of went, wait, what? I haven't customized anything. Oh, I guess I don't care. Weird. That was, like, really eye-opening.
That's a triumph of the game. I don't think it's that's the only way you can do it, though, is like, and that's where I try and keep my brain all the time, is like, I think it's very rare that there's a correct answer for most things in game design. And that's what I think I saw a lot of that here. And I was trying very hard to keep an open mind. So that's where some of this is coming from. But like with professions, they're going more specialized, which sounds more restrictive by proxy, right? But I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's different. It's what they've decided to do. It's the directions that they've decided to go. Whether it'll be successful or not, I can't say. We don't have the game. We're not playing it. But they're committing, which I always see as admirable.
Yeah.
And I feel that way about talents as well. Like, to me, anytime there's something like a talent system, or even we see this in card games, like there's people in Hearthstone that are mad that you can net deck, and I'm just like, you're mad about communication, which you can't stop, and there's no way around that. If you build a system with a plethora of options that you can choose from, and you make those choices, whether it's a deck of cards, whether it's a talent system, there will be a meta will emerge, and the community will talk amongst each other and share that information. And that's how metas happen. And that is just always going to happen. And there's no way around that. And so in that way, I think the way I interpret that is like, I look at you and I go, I think that works more for you. I think the science of fun, the way Final Fantasy 14 does it, because you are someone who does not derive joy from Googling it. The fact that Final Fantasy 14 makes it so that just there is nothing to Google other than how do I get this job? it lands better for you. Whereas I go, I'm a horrible Switzerland. I'm neutral. I think there's merits to both, which is terrible for like upvotes, I guess. But
that's fair. Let's grab here Christopher Clayton's super chat. To me, this felt like a showed promise, but promises are only worth something if you deliver on them. That's just my 500 cents, though. Thank you for super chat, Christopher.
No, that's fair. But I also feel that way about any announcement. Right?
Yeah,
it's just like,
absolutely.
that looks cool. Let's play it and see if it works.
Right. The trust is fundamentally broken, which is why we sit here and go, like ultimately the presentation, and yeah, maybe scripted tables and whatnot. This is not a bad presentation, at least for a video game company. This was a really solid rundown of what they're planning.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of folks like in our chat room during this live stream is like, oh, that was so scripted. And it's like, yeah, but I mean, like as someone who's been to every BlizzCon since 2010, like it didn't feel that different from a BlizzCon panel. Like they plan these things out. They have points they want to hit.
Except for the voice acting panels, those were amazing, and those were curse laden until they put a cap on that.
That's a very different product too, though, right? Like that's not there as a piece of marketing beyond look how cool our voice actors are. That's like, but if you went to the What's Next World of WarCraft panel on the Mythic stage, like that was what this is. It's just it was in a room with cameras as opposed to in a convention center hall. But now, as someone who's now into Final Fantasy 14 and has now experienced some of their live letters, I do kind of like that better. Like, I think it plays more to, I think a wide variety, like a wide majority of invested gamers. Like we're used to Twitch streams now, and we're used to less polish and a more kind of personable and approachable thing. Whereas, and I'm sure like they're definitely like, if you like Yoshi P just sitting there in a room with a single like Logitech camera reacting to chat in real time, I'm sure they also still sit there and they think ahead of time of what they're going to talk about. I'm sure they still have bullet points. But I do, if you're thinking, oh boy, I like that more, it's more approachable, it engages me more, I'm with you. I think that is, to me, I think a more effective way to go about talking about things. And I think you could do that for something like this. I get it. Like you want to have your big spectacle and you want it to be polished and you want to show your cinematic, but I don't think there's any reason you can't show the cinematic and then just cut to, hey, we're sitting here in our home studios. We got our Yeti microphones. What's up? What's on everybody's mind?
Yeah. Well, and they're missing that figurehead ultimately, like the Chris Metz and Ben Brode type. Like there's not that Walt Disney at the Blizzard Studios that I feel that could do the fireside, bend down on their knees, be like, "Hey kids, how's it going? How's it going out there? How y'all doing tonight? You doing good? That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's hang out a little bit. What do you for the Horde? Like, let's do it." That is a turnover issue that hopefully someone like that elevates up. That'd be really cool to see. But it's a very different atmosphere than Yoshi P, walking in looking like he exhausted, frankly. And that communicates to me. I'm like, dude, get some sleep, but thank you for being here.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the dev roundtables they had, like, clearly scripted to a degree, but it also, a lot of it felt natural. So, like, you could, I don't know, like, have some Zoom rooms. Like, all right, we're going to jump over to our dev table for the next 2 zones, and here they are. Like, and they seem like they struck me as folks that could hold their own with a chat room. But you're right. We don't really have we don't have like a community figurehead. Like it is like Hazakassis, we look to him as like the head of WoW, right? But he's just not that type of personality.
No, and he's broken during live discussions, and that's where that animosity, I think, is a too strong a word, but ultimately comes down to that lack of trust. Like he feels like he's versus the player so often. So when we see perfectly acceptable statements like he said in this table, we all go, oh man, he must be pissed, because that's the personality that's been built around him.
Yeah, it's some of it is communal, and or some of it I think is community based, but I think some of it too comes from him. Like I said, like at me, like I feel adversarial towards him on the topic of flying. Like how many times has he sat there and told us we just you don't like. He didn't say you don't want it. I'm conflating it with like Jalen Brack telling us we didn't want classic, which is hilarious now in retrospect. But yeah, I don't disagree with chat room. It's like Hazakas's like it's kind of like lawyer speak. Like he's a bit robotic, but two, I think that just I don't know. That's just, have you met developers? Like half of them, that's how they talk. Like a lot of them are very measured, calculated individuals. That's why they make games. So in that way I feel bad for Ian. Like I don't know. Like sometimes I think he catches too much flack, and other times I get mad at him, and I'm like, yeah, the people are right. So like, my opinion changes with the wind.
It also depends on what topic we're talking. Like a lot of people say that the raids have been the best they've ever been because Ian leads that as a raid game, and that's the sort of style game he's creating. I do think the BFA raids were really, really fun, and the mechanics were really, really enjoyable, particularly Mother and all that kind of stuff. There were some really unique things in there. And I really did like getting to go to the other tables and see like the actual in the trenches developers geeking out. Particularly, what was it? Was it table 3 or table 2? Like, it's always great to see Gregory. I've, listen to him talk a lot, see him on Twitter. I know like Azeroth Roundtable, all the WoW shows really have a fun relationship with Gregory, and that's really
I got to do
exciting.
A panel with Gregory at the last BlizzCon.
Yeah, like just seems
nice
down
dude.
and really chill, and I really like that. And I love that energy that they brought for their own tasks and departments.
Yeah, I agree. Like overall, I don't know. I thought it was I'm coming down on it was a good showing. Once we started jumping to the developer tables, I think the opening was weak. The opening was really slow. I think it belabored the "we hear you" apology message.
It was so. It wasn't. They never say sorry. Like that's what makes it such a hard pill to swallow and such a difficult apology to accept, because what I hear ultimately is we listen to you and look what you got. Like that's what they're saying. It's so gross. It's so manipulative of a relationship in that way. Like, we heard you and you created Shadowlands after all. There you go. That was all you. Like, what? No, you interpreted what it's your job to sort through. And I know, like, there are definitely sides of WoW where they're trying to please too many people at once and they need to make a decision. But it's just... Ooh.
There's part of it that's still just, it feels like the wall is still up between the community and the devs. I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I still, to a certain degree, feel for them, because sometimes I think the vitriol gets a little, it goes too far, verging on abusive. But at the same time, too, it's like the game hasn't been great, and you haven't invested. You're lucky enough to have an invested player base, and so that stuff's going to happen. I don't know. It's difficult, right? Like at a certain point, we're just kind of talking about the human experience.
Yeah, and sympathetic is an interesting word to bring up in the chat. Like it's such a complicated scenario, and that's why I really like seeing the devs, the hardworking devs, because that's who we're rooting for in a lot of this. And those are the people that, on Twitter say things like, don't quit playing because you hate this current situation. Keep supporting us and we can make it better. Like, they're the ones with that voice. It's not corporate getting on and saying that. They just want to find new bodies, new fuel for the fire. Into the maze you go, trapped inside. That's where things get villainous. Like, the actual hardworking devs are the ones I'm cheering for and I want to see succeed, because I have so many, over the years of working with Blizzard and interviewing, so many personal relationships with good people and awesome people on the inside there. But
they're a massive team. I think it certainly seemed like they'd made an effort in this to showcase more members of the team, which I think was cool. And to me, that was probably the most effective thing about it, other than showing the cool Dragonflight animation. That sold me. But
Allison Turner with the super chat says, to be honest, Blizz players' relationship reminds me of a lot of narcissistic exes. It makes me feel like they hate their own community. And that's something that I am very sensitive to. so that's something that I definitely see those cues and those responses, and that's why I get so defensive and often accusatory. You're very much on it, in my opinion, Allison.
I mean, I guess I don't see it as black and white. Like I find it hard. I don't know. I very much saw J. Allen Brack as a villain, so I guess I can, to a certain degree, understand that. That man pissed me off royally, and I was very happy when he got fired, even though he was just a scapegoat. But like, I think so. I look at it and see it as a. They've been doing what's been working for so long that when it didn't work, they don't know how to pivot. Right? They've moved the game forward with saying we believe this is the right call, and we're going to make that call, and we're going to stick with it. And for the most part, it worked, and it led to the peak of players in Wrath of the Lich King, right? Like adding flying was a big deal. Adding shaman and paladin to opposite factions was a big deal, and upset some people. Just if you remember, all the way back in the day, BC was a big deal. People were like, "What do you mean we're raising the level cap, and the armor I farmed a year for in vanilla isn't going to be like the best armor in the game anymore?" Like, that was controversial. Like WoW's entire history, its entire trajectory is these big calls from the developers, and in the early days it was working, and it led to the success, and it led to their peak, right? And they just kept doing it. And Cataclysm didn't land for everybody. For me, I loved Mists. I think Mists was great. I think it's one of the best expansions. Draenor didn't land for, I feel like, the majority of players. I know some people love it, but I don't know. That's how I look at it. I look at it, well, like, we made big calls and we stuck to our guns in the past, then it worked. We should own it now. Like, we think this is right, and let's just stick to it. And I think they've had a really difficult time understanding when it is time to throw in the towel and make changes. And I think that's where we're all kind of communally winded, right? Because it's like they had to cave in BFA, and now they're having to cave here in Shadowlands, and we're kind of looking at it like, well, why didn't you learn your lesson sooner? Because you already had to walk things back in BFA.
And I do wonder how much of that is just turnover, like how many lessons were learned, and then we hear a lot of corporate Blizzard is often treated like a startup company. It's about getting the best title you can at Blizzard, then using that to propel your next project on. And that's a shame when we see things like, Final Fantasy, where we have these very lived-in producers and directors who are seemingly, lifelong, and I hope they keep at it, that kind of keep that through line going and evolving the world and staying invested. A lot of the times it just might be turnover when it comes to that. But when it comes to playing the game, I do think a lot of the fundamental ideas of how an MMO works have been challenged over the years by single player games like roguelites and all. I think that, for instance, PvP is one that I think Final Fantasy is doing really well by presenting a challenge and not bringing gear into it, except that's the fantasy of WoW, right? Fantasy of WoW is you get gear and you get better and you get better and you smash the enemy because you have gear that they don't. And your time investment in that way for PvP in particular, it's such a great example of it, is absolutely rewarded upon the enemy's face. You put in the hours, you win. And when it comes to raiding, I butt heads with add-ons. And I hope they can land this HUD update. There was a video going around this week that every World of WarCraft player has to be a hardcore. And the idea being that you cannot play WoW without watching a video. The second you ask someone to watch a video, you just took your audience and cut it down to 20%, if not more. And then you ask them to go get add-ons. What percent of that did you just cut out? What percent then has to know their build, has to know how to play their character, has to know their and you keep cutting down this audience and your content smaller and smaller and smaller. And then the players resent you because they can't get good groups, or they can't find people who want to play at that level, even though you made that investment. Then you have to sit there while someone else dies in your raid because they want to run a bad spec because they're playing their way and it's their sub, and you just end up frustrated. And the game is starting to snowball that effect. So seeing things like a HUD update to me is really, like, that's the part I respond to. I want the player experience. Flying is a fantasy, and I love that fantasy. I think it's really cool. But the player experience is what is going to challenge me and make your game interesting, and why I would even go farm.
I don't disagree with you there. It's certainly how I feel about things that, like, especially Mythic. Mythics, like the Mythics have never really worked for me. I know it's very popular with a subsection of the player base, but to me, as someone who like loves dungeons, turning Mythics into this Diablo adjacent grind to just get the same gear with slightly different stats, like it's so unappealing to me. And there's like add-ons that are like required for that. They give you a Mythic rating, and then like if you're just getting started, people are like, "Oh, why is your rating so low?" And it's just like, I don't give a shit. Like, I just want to run dungeons. So I feel you there, man. But that's starting to get into the kind of stuff that they didn't really talk about much outside of the UI, which to me, I can say looking at it, I think it looks good. It looks like a nice update. And I think it's already been getting good, like getting better over the years. Like, I didn't use nearly as many add-ons when I was playing Shadowlands as I had in the past, and I felt like I was doing just fine. I did the first 2 raids in Shadowlands. I did just fine with pretty light add-ons. So if they're making a big concerted push to really upgrade the base UI, I don't know. You might be surprised in that regards if that's something you're really interested in.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go as far as to say they have to bring in universal indicators. I think that's a really interesting choice that Final Fantasy's made that makes me as a player go, I am rewarded. Look at this game knowledge that I brought to the table, and I know what group up means, and I know what spread out means. But I also think there's a lot of merit to going into a dungeon and being like, what the heck is a swirly circle? What's going to happen here? And I think that's a cool exploration that people have. But when you get into like the high-end world first rating where the add-ons are battling the task and sometimes countering the task entirely, then world's first really doesn't have that much meaning anymore. And then that leaks down to the player's experience when you're focusing on that extreme high end. So I guess in the end, they presented a really good fantasy with the dragon flying. That I don't know about all the elements. There's a lot of fluff on that island, like elementals and birds and stuff and centaurs, but you got to fill it out. You got to make zones.
They nailed for me, like, they sold me on like going through the leveling experience. They have not sold me on seeing it through the end. I have no idea who the bad guy is. What's the threat? Who are we fighting? That's where it kind of missed for me. I guess to bring it home, if you want like a big final point, that I'm curious your thought on this. Like, I think I'm not. I know your answer.
Oh no! Oh no!
But like, to me, like closing down, like I don't know, because I'm more walking the line. Like I still want to like WoW. Like I'm looking for an excuse to like WoW again, for sure. Like that's kind of where I'm at. So like based on this reveal, I'm definitely not going to become a WoW main. Like I think I'm looking at this. I'm like, this looks good. I think I'm still a primarily Final Fantasy 14 player based on what I'm seeing here. And I would ask you, how do you feel on that? But I already know you're just like, oh yeah, no, still a Final Fantasy 14 player, because I've never heard you make so many disgusted noises than sitting through that 1 hour just now.
Yeah, my time is so well spent and feels so respected in Final Fantasy 14. It'll be very hard for it to pull me away. And that's what I meant when I was, curious if there's a world where you can have 2 MMOs, if the patch cycle for a lot of players, because you see kind of the estimations of subscriber numbers for Final Fantasy, and it goes with the patches. People kind of show up like they do for Netflix. Like they do their main story quest, they hang out, they check all the new stuff, and then they head out. And if you can trade back and forth with WoW, that would be interesting if they really nail this How to Train Your Dragon fantasy they're going for. There's a world where we can all go, Oh, cool. That was a great little update, Final Fantasy 14. That was great. Hey, you want to go try out the new update over on WoW? Let's go check it out. And then like we can trade back and forth. But fundamentally, I don't think that works with WoW's philosophy because it is about gear at the end of the day. And how you get that gear needs to be fun for us who don't care about the extreme smashing the enemy without the gear and PvP kind of side of things.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I would love to go back to the old ways of gear of like, I know what drops, I know where it drops. So I know what content I need to do to get what I want. The more, again, like I said, the Diabloification of WoW gear since, I guess, Legion? Warlords? When did they start doing that? Anyway, I don't like it as much. For me, it doesn't work. I'd rather have a shopping list.
and the part that feels really cheap to bring up ultimately, because Final Fantasy is telling such a fantastic story. It is a RPG MMO rather than an MMORPG in that way. I just really want them to make me care. Like that, and that I didn't see that today. We talked about we need a villain. Like that's what when we go through dungeons in Final Fantasy 14, we're diving our heads around the corner and peeking, be like, "Where's the villain? What's the guy? What's the bad guy look like? What's going on in here? Who? Oh, chains on the wall. What are the chains for? Are those for bad guys?" And we respond so much to a good villain, and they didn't deliver that here. So I don't know what my objective is other than solving family squabbles, which have been going on for 10,000 years. And those are some pretty cemented family squabbles. So what part am I, the lowly, no superpower hero, going to have in this? I don't have the Echo. I don't have draconic lineage. Or I guess I could have it if I do this. But, you know, WoW hasn't taught me that if I went and made a dragon character, I would have a unique storyline when I get to the end with the dragons. So how can I even impact this world that I'm going to participate in? And when I've completed that impact, why do I feel like living in it further? And then you've got time gates and everything else that take that story and artificially extend it.
As someone who liked vanilla, like I liked not being important, I'm kind of down with that. And I'm not sure this was their intention, but when you ask who's the villain, I'm like, I don't know. I'm not even sure there is one. I kind of feel like it's just vibing with dragons. And if it's just vibing with dragons, I'm okay with that.
That is something that I feel would take a lot of investigation on my part. So much of vanilla was, where's the ziggurat? I saw that in Warcraft 3. What's a ziggurat? There's a banshee. Oh my god, I know that unit. Like, and you explored that world and you found all these pieces of Warcraft in 3D, in size and scale, and walked into them. And that was so much of the thrill. So when you explored as a nobody, there were all these little independent stories, like the little girl ghost in Western Plaguelands, and all these little tiny tidbits that built a world full of all this character. I don't think that returning to that is the goal. I just think that the writing perhaps was better back then. They can make us a nobody again and have us explore the world of dragons, but all those little individual stories need to be well written again. And there are some.
That's the kind of thing we really won't have a handle on until it's playable.
Yeah, and you talked a lot about like environmental art today. Like that to me is like costumes in Star Wars and stuff. Like the new Star Wars movies, there's so much that's going right. The feeling of them inside X-Wings, the costumes, the look of stuff and the ships. Like so many people on teams are just slam dunking their jobs. But you need that through line and often that passionate director who's fighting the producer and keeping the project. Like, for instance, if this is a personal one for me, but you know, Dark Crystal, the original movie, didn't have internal monologue for the main character. The producer put that in because he felt that people wouldn't understand the puppet. Those are the best emoting puppets that ever existed. But the producers forced in this internal monologue for the poor main character, and it made it dumb. And those sort of choices are what can ruin a product. And I don't think the hands are out of the cookie jar in that way.
I don't have a retort to comments on Dark Crystal.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. It's a weird cut. I'm sure. I care about some things more than others, as you do about foliage. So it's all relative.
I like the overall look of the expansion. I like the kind of focus on the fun fantasy of hanging with dragons. I don't know how much of a focus that'll actually be in application, but in terms of this reveal, it worked for me. They didn't. I'm confused as to the narrative, as it sounds like you are.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that was intentional. I'm not sure I care all that much. Like, all right, you ready to get on the cynical brain train?
Yes, please join me on my train.
If I were thinking about how I sell this, I'd be like, well, no one cares about the story anyway, so let's not focus on it. Because at the moment, Garrett, I do not care about the WoW story. I think it has crapped the bed. So showing me, here's a dragon playground. What's the story? Worry about it when you get there. I'm like, okay, cool. Like make your game look fun to play. And I think they accomplished that. And to me, it's coming from, in my brain, a little bit of a cynical place, but it doesn't bother me that much.
I think that's a fair take. I think we can. There's other conversations outside this one to have about like hiding lore in books and having that skipped over in game and having to use these auxiliary websites to figure out your story and whatnot. Like that's very much its own conversation. If they nail the like flying, that's why it's so particular though. That's why I'm so fervent about like the flying being good when they said like if I turn on a dime, if it looks graphic-y, if it looks clunky and doesn't fulfill that dragon riding fantasy, then you've had a huge loss because you don't have a story to back it up. Same thing with Anthem, right? Actually, Anthem is a great example of where the flying was awesome and a lot of the mechanics really awesome, but the story was bad and the overall gameplay was bad.
Yeah. Pre-explaining though, like really teeing things up, either like here is your villain front row center and it's very clear, or just here is your world. Who is the villain? What is our conflict? We don't know. They've done both, and they've had successes in World of Warcraft with that, and they've had, I think, failures with that because I know you made a very specific suggestion, or you made a very specific allusion to Mists of Pandaria, and it doesn't sound like this landed for you. But this feels like Mists of Pandaria to me. The Mists cinematic. I don't know who the bad guy is. It doesn't show a Shah. It doesn't mention any of that. It doesn't even show Garrosh.
That's true.
And to me, I think that's one of the greatest expansions in World of Warcraft's lineage. And so that was one where I think it worked, where they were ambiguous about who the villain was, and it totally worked. Like it just made me want to go explore Pandaria. And while I was there, I got bought in. I was like, oh damn, this is a cool story. I like the culture and the of the Pandaria and the other denizens of the zone once I got there, and I got invested just through playing it. So I think that can work as long as it's it's quality and it's compelling.
Now, you've got a good point there. The bait and switch of BFA is what really can ruin it, because N'Zoth was way cooler than any sort of storyline they presented with the war comes back to Warcraft.
And that was a sense of, I think, impatience too. It certainly was for me, because it was like, we all know it's N'Zoth. Just say it's N'Zoth. Just put him on a poster. Show me a bitchin' ass piece of key art with N'Zoth on it, and let's move on with our lives. So when they finally got there, it's like the final patch. It's N'Zoth. We're all like, yeah, we knew it was N'Zoth. But we all knew it.
But go with me a moment. What if instead of Stone Man and big kind of lore constructs like constructs pun, but like the Titans are, instead. Ooh, walking on the misty beach of the Dragon Isles. Whoa, what's that in the book? Whoa, what was that? What was the bug flies by? Just kidding. It's like the cat kind of in a horror movie. Oh, yeah. And then T-Rex, dragon. Like we take the entire opening of original Jurassic Park, shoot ha, and just make it about like centaurs capturing dragons, because there's going to be people capturing dragons. Like small, grounded, personal stories is why Mists of Pandaria opener works, and it makes you go, what will I see in this world? Whereas here, we took the camera, we put it on top, and he said, you will see spires and waterfalls and Thor lasers and dragons and constructs. And I say, well, what part do I play?
I don't know. To me, I like the cinematic because it made me want to go soar on the back of a dragon. And then through the reveal, they're like, oh, by the way, you're going to get a dragon from the beginning and you're going to get better at flying it over the course of the expansion. I was like, oh, cool. That was a smart thing to focus on in your expansion, because it was like half and half, right? It was like half like, here's this ancient race that's kind of setting up and explaining like why this island has been missing and shrouded in mystery. And then here is just the fantasy of cool dragon flying. So again, for me, it worked. I don't know. It was like a theme park ride.
And
I'm okay with that.
I wish I was a designer so I could express what I mean in more articulate words, because you're an artist. You went to art school, so you're very aware when you say something looks good, I can go why, and I can go like 5 layers deep on the why, and you can keep going. There is a fundamental part to me that rigging matters so much, and I only saw ducks in this entire cinematic. In this entire presentation, the ducks were the only thing with unique rigging, and that pains me. I love
the dragon mount was entirely new. Those are animations we've never seen. We've never seen a dragon move that way.
Maybe it will actually. Okay, that one actually that's on screen right now. Actually, but there are proto drakes in there, right? And so, to me, I really respect and love the Dark Souls games and Final Fantasy in that way. Like, I let the wings clip through and let the feet kick through the clothes. It has to move in a unique way for me to be interested. And so much of what I saw was like mammoths and crocodiles and centaur. Like, I've just seen you. You can put a fresh coat of paint on as much as you want, but I've just seen you before.
That's fair. I guess I really like proto drakes, so I'm happy to see more. And to me, I looked at that proto drake and I go, damn, that's a crazy looking proto drake. We've never seen one that looks like that before. Which I also see in Final Fantasy 14. They reskin things all the time. They do a very good job with it, and they look extremely unique. But I would argue that the reuse of the proto drake model in here is on that level. The centaurs, they're centaurs. Dude, those gnolls though.
The gnolls were nice.
Those gnolls look great.
And we even
I wish that gnoll was a playable race. I would play the shit out of one of those.
We even met the redone spider. We did Void Ark, and then we did a dungeon yesterday, the Arborito. And the spider was the same rigging, and my heart does go, oh, it's just like
There also though there was it on the Hullbreaker Hard? There was a model of I forget now, but there was a model we'd just never seen before. Was it Hullbreaker? No, it was something else.
Yeah, all games do this, but there are games that are really, really guilty of it. Skyrim, Bethesda, really bad at it. And World of Warcraft's been riding those Basilisk models for way too many years for me. And I just wonder if it's a problem with the system. Like, if they can't, like, we hear Final Fantasy has trouble expanding their cosmetics. Does World of Warcraft have trouble expanding its skeletons?
That's an interesting thought. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're getting the new dragon race, and they look very unique. Even their human form, because like you go back, you look at Worgans, their second form was just human, like normal human.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I saw some people being like, "Oh, that's the Final Fantasy race." I don't think that's fair to.
They look very different.
Well, it and like crystals pop. You mentioned crystals, and I kind of played with the idea there. But fantasy crystals, like there's gonna be a lot of similarities when we all have these Tolkien roots or D&D or whatever your kind of inspiration may be.
Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. Crystals in both are like my least favorite. An overuse of crystal in fantasy, it's like an aesthetic where I'm just like, I don't care. Stop showing me glowing crystals. I've seen it before.
I don't mind crystals as a fantasy construct. When it gets into tech, like I think the Protoss do it well because it's just like, who gives a damn? We're aliens. Whatever. It works.
That's fair. Yeah.
But when you get into
I do like Protoss.
But when you get into like gnomes being like, you put the crystal in, it solves the thing, and now I do the twist, and the little worlds go, and now I can go. I'm just like, you're making crap up. Like this is too far. I hate nanomachines for that same reason, but that's a whole different tangent.
We could do a whole video on how much I hate nanomachines, and they ruin every fiction that they get into.
Nanomachines
post nanotech Marvel is the most homogenized bullshit I've ever seen.
Oh, it's so bad. It's so
Iron Man post 2, the suits are awful. I hate them.
Yeah, you gotta have the clunk and the and like,
yes, they can't get the briefcase suit. That's as small as I ever wanted to see an Iron Man suit shrink down to.
The Hulkbreaker, the one that was a spaceship and you climb inside, that one's okay. Like
that one's because that one's old tech. It doesn't just appear out of thin air.
But I have multiverse problems too, and that's why I don't like Shadowlands. And I'm okay with it in like the anime, like this will break your mind kind of way. And I'm like, okay, like let's do it. Yes,
I believe you.
Exactly, like the end of Doctor Strange, where he's like stuck in a time loop. I'm like, hell yeah, like things don't make sense here. Let's do it. But then when we're like, we're gonna go to a different universe, and it's basically the same, but people have tentacles for hair. I'm like, who cares? Anthem. Who cares? Andromeda. No one cares. I don't care.
It's basically the same, but people have evil mustaches. It's basically the same, but they're wearing silly hats. Yeah, man, I feel you there. Yeah, I don't know. I like, again, like this isn't blowing my hair to the back of the auditorium, but this does look like something I want to try. This is something I'm going to play on launch day for sure. It sounds like I might be alone.
It depends on the Dragon Fantasy. Like if you get in there and you're like, Kyle, dude, I hit the beach. They gave me a dragon. It's a really fun level up mechanic. Like I'm really exploring this world. There's lots of unique little stories. Like for me, World of Warcraft is a co-op game that I want to run dungeons in, and raiding is a bigger dungeon. It's just a lot in their current atmosphere. It's a lot of work to organize people of skill and have them not feel like they're bringing something down. And I know I'm not the best player in the world. I bring down the raid at times, but that's what makes it hurt more is when I know I'm not the best and things are still bad. My brain goes, whoa, this is a hellscape. I'm out. But I'm going to run a poll here because I'm just curious. Like our audience here chilling right now, I'm going to do currently have, never have, or interested. Like just kind of do a World of Warcraft poll here and see. Like, you know, we've seen a lot of opinions today. I'm curious to know what you guys are up to with the game.
Poll hit in chat momentarily.
Yeah. And what did you all think of it? Like, what was there any notes that hit strong for you? Anything you wanted them to address that didn't get mentioned?
Yeah, you know, for how long-winded that apology was, I'm surprised they didn't say anything about like we're going to lighten up on systems or something like that. Quite lukewarm. Yeah. Yeah. Were you expecting mentions of Xbox support? A lot of mez. Apology is shorthanding it. I don't think they actually said we're sorry.
No, but
they opened with a long-winded "We hear you." Let's put it that way.
And I don't like. I personally don't like apologizing for things that aren't my fault. So I don't need an apology. It's just that when you talk nebulous, so I don't expect an apology. But when you get to specifics, "we hear you" isn't the answer to specific. That's where the apology comes in, right? I don't need them to grovel and like beg me to come back or anything. We all got busy lives and have made our choices. And you know, Ian isn't responsible for 20 plus other decisions that were made under his tutelage.
There is a remarkable split between never played and quit recently.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, considering our story, right? Like me, especially as someone who just quit and is now playing Final Fantasy over 29. I'm not surprised I've attracted people who are going through a similar experience.
Yeah.
But I am surprised almost half of you have just never played it. That's awesome. Like I know not awesome. Like I'm not saying it's awesome you never play WoW, but it's like my world is consumed by prior and current WoW players. Like that's my circle. So meeting people who have never played is really unique to me. That's really cool. Huh. Interesting. I guess quit recently is very specific, right? Like, what if you didn't quit recently, but you're not playing currently? You don't really have an option in the poll. Interesting stuff.
I do think it's cool.
Sammy quoting me.
I do think it's cool that like there's a lot of Final Fantasy people who are cheering for WoW though, and like the healthy environment that could create where both are great and both kind of steal from each other and build and create these better and better games.
Well, and dude, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm not invested anymore, so now I'm just curious. I want to see what WoW does now that they are not the top dog anymore. What do they do when they are like definitely not the top MMO? Like beyond a shadow of a doubt, they are not the biggest game now in the space.
And I think
they know that. We all know that. So to me, I'm just sitting here. I'm like, cool. What you got? Like, how do you pivot knowing that? How do you change things up? I guess if nothing else, that's like, I'm just curious.
this panel here that we're actually over right now, I think really kind of highlight that the best. The crafting update of everything they're doing, HUD definitely, but the crafting update is the most Final Fantasy kind of thing they're doing, and I think that's really interesting because without saying it, they're declaring we want you to play this game multiple ways. We want to invest in the people who log in every single day but do nothing but get rich. Like that's their fantasy, is being really, really rich. And I know a lot of people like that. I don't personally do it, but I totally know a lot of people who want the massive, what was the money mount that was the Brontosaurus, which I know is a fantasy, not real dinosaur, but that's why I'm saying it.
Oh, yeah. I forget. I know what you're talking
The
about.
Moneysaurus. Like
the
those
BFA mount.
Yeah, those goals were really cool for that community, and seeing that multi-lifestyle infusion to World of Warcraft is the most Final Fantasy thing I can think of that they could do.
I think that's fair. That's fair. Well, rad. Well, shall we bring it home?
Yeah, sounds good. And I think Baka Shinobi there has it right. Like, WoW stole so many ideas and refined them. If everyone's stealing back to each other and we get in this process of competitive refinement, I do believe that as a Heroes of the Storm fan, I want WoW to succeed because I want a healthy Blizzard that makes cool games. I want Diablo 4 to be awesome. I want there to be another StarCraft someday. And for that to happen, as you like to mention as a car nerd, we're gonna need our family vans to sell so we can have our Lamborghinis.
Yeah. I like my Toyota sports cars, but you got to sell a lot of Camrys.
Yeah.
To fund those. It's interesting. Yeah. I don't root for any game to fail. I wasn't really into console wars back in the day, and I don't get into like game wars. Like I think you can very much enjoy Final Fantasy 14 and World of Warcraft and whatever other MMO you want to play. And so I want to see them all do interesting things, and I want to see them all refine and improve and combat each other, right? Like try to outdo each other, because the players are who wins when that happens.
Leanox makes a great point too. Like Microsoft could also be the money provider for Blizzard, and Blizzard gets to make fun things again. Like we see Microsoft make side projects that aren't for money.
It's too early for that though, right? Like the merger hasn't even, it's not till next year.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a while before we see the fruits of that and like the outcome of that. But I am hopeful for it for sure. Terry, thanks for the super chat. Star Trek Online was my first MMO, and WoW never appealed, so it's all Star Trek Online and Final Fantasy 14 for me. Star Trek Online was great. I played it a lot at launch. Never went back to it, but it's fun, man. You get your own ship, and you can like beam down and bring an away crew. I have no idea how it is now. I've heard it's good. I have a friend who still plays, but yeah, I played a lot of it at launch. But yeah, well, do we do the outro?
I mean, sure. To the chat or to the cameras? Wait, which outro are you talking about?
Yes. As always, folks, like and subscribe. We've got we do a video every Wednesday morning is when those release, and we stream every Monday afternoon and every Thursday evening for Final Fantasy 14 content. We will be starting Stormblood soon, and we're wrapping up Sky Pirates this Thursday night. It's gonna be a good time. Thanks for watching, everybody. This is a fun stream.
Yeah.
GG.
It was joyous joining you all. You have a lovely day. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't. Discord links below. All that sort of business. Y'all take care.